WPEN Burlington, Philadelphia, a Beasley Media Group station. Official home of the Sixers, Flyers, Union, and the best Eagles talk in Philadelphia. 97.5, The Fanatic.
Good morning. Thought I'd help you wake up.
It's 6 a.m., and you're listening to The John Kincade Show, Philadelphia's longest-running sports talk morning show on 97.5 The Fanatic, Philadelphia.
Let the party begin!
The show starts now.
It's all coming together. John Kincade Show on 97.5 The Fanatic. Our 6 a.m. hour brought to you by our friends at Bradford White Water Heaters. Bradford White is here for the pro. As we get ready for the show today, Bob and I watching the coverage of the escaped convict, which is dominating everything this morning, all over the local news. Hopefully everybody is safe.
Yeah, absolutely. First and foremost,
be safe.
We can laugh at it and say what all the jokes that have been made, but first and foremost, hopefully everybody's safe, and hopefully they just get this guy and bring him in. Looks like they're getting close.
Yeah, it looks like they're getting close.
Yeah.
Around 8 miles up the road. So from up
your
on
house,
100,
not from here.
Yeah, not from here in Balkan.
I gotta ask, what does that mean? It seems like it's getting close.
Well, they've spotted him within. He was spotted around 1:30. So
you heard something right around 5 o'clock
around
this
5
morning
o'clock,
that a trooper said, "I got him. I see him.
I've seen him in the woods on the scanner. I put the scanner app on now, so you can listen to the scanner and you can hear them talking about it. So keep a little abreast of it. But we're more worried about another chase. And it's the wild card chase, and we'll get to that coming up. Bradford White Water Heaters brings you the 6 o'clock hour. Bradford White's here for the pro. Watching Aaron Rodgers go down last night in that game, first of all, you had ghouls like Keith Olbermann on social media celebrating that he's injured, which is just the height of jackassery, and honestly, it's evil. You're an evil person. You're a bad person. But the idea, when I saw him go down in that game, I'm not a fan of Aaron Rodgers. I felt sorry for him. I'm not a fan of the Jets. I felt sorry for their fan base. And then the dread set in, the personal, the disease of me. I went, I don't want that Monday morning show. I never want to do that Monday morning show or that Friday morning show where we're the ones talking about this, because it just tells you the Jets have a roster that's built to they could easily win a Super Bowl. They could be right in the mix to win a Super Bowl with Aaron Rodgers. Without him, I don't think anybody's waking up this morning going, it's not like they need him to play, like they need to fill in to play 4 games. They need to fill in to play 19 games, 20 games. It's not happening.
No.
And that's that dread that I felt last night. I put it on an Eagles. I made it an Eagles story in my head, and I'm going, oh, damn. It could be, this could be us. And again, honestly, it could be anybody.
Any team could lose one player and see their Super Bowl hopes go out the window. I mean, seriously, you look at any team throughout the NFL. If Christian McCaffrey goes down, San Francisco's chances of getting there.
Much more ordinary.
Much. Dallas, you can say what you want about Dak Prescott or maybe Micah Parsons, whatever it may be. Every team, I think, in this league is one player away from. It would be an anomaly that you're one of the favorites to go to the Super Bowl. You lose a key player, and you're still a favorite. I mean, what happened here in Philadelphia in 2018 was just, that's never going to happen again. And it was only a 2.5 game span.
And you only needed one win to get the top seed.
Right.
And you had 2 home games, and things sort of broke your way. But it just brought that dread to me last night that a guy like Rodgers, goes down. It changes everything. A guy like Jalen Hurts. It's weird you say Micah Parsons, because I tried to write down this morning who's the guy that would sink all the teams that I consider to be the big contenders. I also had McCaffrey, and I also had Micah Parsons, number 1. I didn't have Dak. I had Micah Parsons, and I don't know that that's smart, but Micah Parsons just seems like that force of nature right now.
Yeah, I mean, if they lose Dak, it's pretty
terrible.
obvious too. I would probably go Parsons 1, but Joe Burrow. You can go down the list of all the teams that you think may have a chance. You lose one player, that's sports, and that's it does. It sucks. I had the same feeling, John. I saw him go down, and then somebody on Twitter played the replay real slow, and you can see
His
that
calf
calf muscle, because that muscle snaps and rolls up. Oh, I said to you this morning, I don't have the hate for New York fans and teams like Pat does and others do. But I generally felt bad for them last night.
I think it's evil rooting for injury. Like, I think that's just terrible. People who would do that.
I don't think anybody
and celebrate.
does. No, that's gross.
Guys like Olbermann did.
I don't know.
I mean, he's celebrating on social and posting it as something that's good. Pat, are you? I mean, it's. Do you immediately take a story in the NFL though, a bad story, and immediately make it an Eagles story?
A lot of times.
In my head, I do.
A lot of times, yes. I didn't do it with this one though.
You didn't.
And I think it's just because I'm already preconditioned to think that if you lose your quarterback, you're 99.5% of the time your season's over anyway. The Nick Foles, the Jeff Hostetler years, like they're outliers. Most of the time you're cooked anyway. So I didn't put it in the Eagles' realm. Now, if it were a Micah Parsons, I'd go, oh my God, what if the team lost Hassan Reddick? If it was a Stephon Diggs, I would go, what happens if the team loses A.J. Brown? But for weirdly, I don't do it with a quarterback, and I probably should because this is a team that actually has proven before that you can win with a backup quarterback. But
yeah, they only had to win for a short time.
Yeah,
like it's totally different than
you go on a run. Yeah, it's not week one.
Yeah, I mean this is going to be incredible. Now there's talk this morning of the betting favorite appears to be Carson Wentz that they will try to sign.
Just stick with Zach Wilson.
You try to get. I drafted Zach Wilson. I'd rather try Zach Wilson. And Aaron Rodgers said that Zach Wilson impressed him in a lot of ways this offseason. And I guarantee you, Aaron Rodgers is a guy who's like, show me what you're about. Like, he's not just throwing bouquets at the guy.
No,
he's not that person.
No.
So to me, Zach Wilson gets his chance now. So, but boy, I don't want to see Marcus Mariota. I don't want to. That's all I could think of.
Get it out of your brain.
That's all I could think of.
Wash it away.
Marcus Mariota.
Go wash your hands. Wash your face.
Thank you.
Get it out. Get it out of your system.
I did
John.
wash my face, Bob.
All right, do it again. Get it out.
You know, there's used, there's certified, and then there's BMW certified. Take advantage of exceptional offers during the BMW certified sales event today. Visit BMWCenters.com for details. Phillies wake up this morning, one game behind last year's pace, which got them to 87 wins and got them the last wild card. And this morning they wake up with the magic number over the Cubs, 17, to eliminate the Cubs. That's 3 weeks of baseball. This thing's going to the end unless the Cubs drop off or the Diamondbacks drop off. Your magic number over the Diamondbacks is 15. So, but more importantly, your magic number for the Braves is 4, where they've got 2 games. You need a win. Because, again, and the Phillies broadcasters, I appreciated last night, you cannot let the Braves celebrate on your field. You can't let them celebrate in your building. You want to send a good message. And I love the offensive output yesterday. And Connor had some great stuff on the Locked On Phillies podcast and more. This offense, I think, is one of the few offenses in baseball that I could believe could go toe-to-toe with the Braves. But the pitching can't. And if this pitching and the defense is just mind-boggling to me how bad defensively this team is. They're a wretched defensive team, and it doesn't make sense to me that because Dave Dombrowski's always been about pitching and defense. He's always been a big believer in it, and this year's team is great offensively. They're fun to watch, and I think they can go toe-to-toe with Atlanta and put the points up on the board just like they did yesterday. Get all those runs up there and make it a pressure, but the pitching is just in terrible shape right now. Who's good on this pitching staff right now?
Yeah, they're struggling pitching. It's weird. We saw it earlier in the year when the starting pitching was going so great there for a month, and going into the All-Star break, the bullpen was probably an A, graded out by everybody, and all this. And now all of a sudden they're all hitting a wall. And you're going to see it. Certain relievers, you think, all right, he's hit a wall now. Hopefully he bounces back. But they're all hitting it together. Sir Anthony, Alvarado. The starting pitching isn't getting it done. I thought maybe Taijuan Walker, once he got through that first inning yesterday, because you're like, all right, here it goes, 2-3 runs. And he only gave up in the first on a bad play by Cave. What the hell was he doing?
It was terrible.
But, yeah, it was funny. I was at the game yesterday. The swagger.
You were at the first game they lost.
The swagger that the Braves team has is palpable. Now, I'm not just like a guy that says, oh, look at that cocky guy. No, you guys know how I take in things, and it's, how I was trained. Watching them, the smartness of them, a ball going off the wall where the Phillies are hitting cutoffs and stuff. No, they have it in their mind. All right, I know, fast guy on first, ball's coming off the wall. I'm going home with it right away. They're just, balls that are bobbled, them making plays. If you were there watching them, I could have pointed out to you guys yesterday, and you probably would have saw it yourself, 5 or 6 things that you say, look at the confidence in this team.
They're next level. They're next level, and you gotta hope to beat them in a short series.
Yeah,
that's all you can do.
And we know they're the better team. They're
No question.
40 games above 500, whatever it may be. But I left the game yesterday. We left the inning before Harper hit the home run because we had to get out of there.
Okay.
There's 3 of us with kids and all. But I was more impressed with the Phillies than I was pissed off that they lost. I was like, it was kind of a rocky thing.
Well, I'm impressed with Harper. I'm not impressed with the Phillies. Alvarado's throwing meatballs.
So, yeah, I hear you there.
He's
But like they're battling with, every time Atlanta seems to take a lead, boom, the Phillies come back. And then they take another, and the Phillies come back. And then Harper hits the home run. Braves ultimately win. But I was sitting in the cars, we're listening as Harper hits home run. I'm thinking, man, this is like Rocky and Apollo Creed in the first one, where what do I got to do to get rid of these guys? And then the second game, the Phillies, go out to the lead, hold on to another high-scoring game. I wonder if they're in the Braves' mind like, damn, these guys,
Well, the
they
Braves
just hang.
It's a ghost from last year. And, Pat, one of the things, again, Larry Anderson pointing it out, Rob Thompson used this bullpen, broke the wheels off it early. He used this bullpen April, May, June, and now this is what you get. You have a broken down car heading towards the postseason, which you hope can turn around.
Even last night when they were up, when they jumped out to a 4-0 lead, I actively thought to myself, like, how do they blow this? And then Lorenzi gives up a 3-run shot, and then they jumped out to another 4-run lead and started to give it away. Even late in the game, I was like, I don't feel comfortable.
Did you look at the tell me the truth? Did you go to your betting app and look at the alternate line, like the live line when it was 4-0 Phillies?
No.
I did look at it and was like, wow. I mean, they believe the Phillies can cough up a lead.
When it was the 7th inning, I did jump on and bet the Phillies -2, and they were up by 2 at that point.
So you counted on the bullpen to come through?
Yeah, and I had no faith in the bullpen to come through.
Now, if you bet the Phillies
$5 on
-2, do you lose that?
No,
they won by 2?
I think I won.
Okay.
I don't know, probably. Dude, the last 4 days I've had on the betting apps has not been kind. So
said it hasn't been good.
I probably lost. Let's be real.
I expected a little differently last night from them. I thought they'd bounce. The offense is great. The offense is fun to watch. And Bryce Harper, twice in a 2-week period, hits a dramatic game-tying home run, get the team to extra innings, and it means nothing because the bullpen is horrendous.
And I was at both of those games.
I mean, the bullpen, disgressable. Did you see them both, or did you leave both?
No, I saw his home run when it was his 300th. We were there, yeah. But yesterday, it wasn't that he left because we were thinking they were going to lose.
No, I got you.
We just had somebody had to be somewhere at a certain time. This bullpen obviously has to correct itself. I don't know if they can. But yeah, I don't know. I watched with admiration at that Phillies offense yesterday saying, God, these guys, they don't quit. They just don't. Whether it's going to be enough or not, we're going to see, and probably not if you can't get bullpen pitching and you can't get your starters to last beyond whatever. But it's funny. I thought Connor, and I'll have to get him in here later. I'll ask him during the break. I thought Connor had a stat that the Phillies a couple of weeks ago, their pitchers had pitched, I think, one near the top 5 in all of baseball innings pitched, which I agree with you. The Bilattis, I think he goes to the same guys way too often. But I don't know if Connor still had that stat or if I'm wrong on that. But they just seem done. And if Alvarado's not there,
Alvarado's throwing meatballs. I mean, he's just
he had a 1.2 ERA going into yesterday, and I don't know. Sir Anthony, can't trust him at all.
Who can you trust?
Well, Kimbrel probably still has my
Kimbrel in a
trust
closed
as a closing situation.
Yes. Hoffman. I still like Hoffman.
Hoffman's been good. You wonder if Strom's going to start falling off. He's so up and down, and
but he came through.
Yeah. So it's lightning in a bottle. You got to catch it again somehow.
Eagles 7-point favorites going into the game on Thursday night, and they're down 2 starters. They're down a starting corner because I don't see how James Bradbury, who is in concussion protocol, is going to be able to be ready for Thursday. That would seem ridiculous that he'd be able to do that. He then would have 10 full days off to be fully recovered and back for that Tampa Bay game. And they're going to need another linebacker as Nakobe Dean will miss numerous weeks. That tells me this. People are trying to figure it out. It doesn't say numerous months. It says numerous weeks. So I'm guessing 2 or 3. That means?
I'll go a month.
So you say like a month.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, anything with a foot, you worry about aggravating too.
Sure, and you have to come back from it. So you don't just like stay off of a foot as a linebacker and then, okay, yeah, it feels good. I'm ready to play. No, now there has to be conditioning. Now there has to be getting your wind back. I mean, you're talking about a linebacker that's got to run all over the place, coverage, all of that stuff. So it's not, if it's they said it's a foot. I don't know if it's an ankle sprain. I don't know what it is, but it's going to take some time. I would, if they say a couple of weeks like Sirianni did, I'm thinking a month.
Yeah, numerous weeks.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that's good. Well, what I would say is I now completely changed my tune about not liking the Thursday night game being the home opener. I'm in complete agreement now. I'll take the Vikings coming into town, short week, Eagles having a chance to have their NFC Championship banner unveiled. They have a primetime game where Kirk Cousins and the Vikings don't tend to be very good. And then they would have a 10-day layoff to get ready for Tampa Bay where they could, heal up a bit. So now my opinion totally changes. I didn't like the idea of this game being a Thursday. Now I love the idea of the game being a Thursday. And I believe Sirianni and his staff can make adjustments to take care of Kevin O'Connell, I guess it is, and try to be able to outcoach him going into the game on Thursday. Now I like it. All set for it.
Yeah, because I've come to I'm leaning so towards that they got their asses kicked coaching-wise by Bill Belichick on Sunday. Defensively. He made some bad decisions late in the game. I didn't agree with him I didn't agree with Belichick not kicking the field goal with like 9 minutes ago or 8 minutes ago, whatever it was.
Either.
I thought he made some bad decisions there. But reading what the people said yesterday in the Eagles, I think Belichick came up with a defensive plan that they were like, we don't know what to do.
I think they got outcoached.
Yeah.
They got outcoached. And Bill O'Brien outcoached Sean Desai. And Bill Belichick outcoached the offensive staff in Brian Johnson. But they're 1-0. They're not the Chiefs. They're not the Bengals. They're not going to dig themselves out of a hole.
They're
not
the
the Giants. They're not the Bills.
We lost
saw
to
last
Zach
night.
Wilson.
And Josh Allen looked horrendous.
Yeah.
Horrendous.
These really good quarterbacks. Now, Joe Burrow, he's on his second straight year of a slow start. Josh Allen. We're seeing a lot of these young quarterbacks just not start the season all that well. And you wonder if it all goes to what we talk about here in Philly, and it happens everywhere else, if this preseason thing is a thing.
You're playing your first game at that time, so not good, not good. We'll have plenty of it today. If you want to jump in with us and share some thoughts, obviously we got a lot off of our chests that beginning of the show. You can join us at 610-632-0975. The changes on offense, though, are top of mind after yesterday. We'll get to that next. John Kincade Show.
Fanatic everywhere. On Alexa at 975thefanatic.com. Back to the John Kincade Show on 97.5 The Fanatic, Philadelphia.
John Kincade Show on 97.5 The Fanatic. You know, CSB Media Arts Center in Cherry Hill is home to Connecticut School of Broadcasting's broadcast media program and more. You can find out more at gocsb.com. Connor Thomas, Tom Alvord, talented people that have come out of that program, so check it on out. It is worth your time. John Kincade Show. So the Phils have 2 more games left for the Braves. Eagles getting ready for their Thursday night game. And one of the things I took away from, and we will have a Speak for Yourself with Bob Cooney coming up in the next hour, where he deciphers and takes you between what did Nick Sirianni say and what did Nick Sirianni mean. And many times it's not the exact same thing. But one of the things that I saw was Nick Sirianni with his, I think Nick Sirianni is confused. This is just me. I believe he's confused by what his coaches did on Sunday afternoon. I think Nick Sirianni is confused by what Brian Johnson was doing because yesterday he had no good explanation for the strategy, the decisions, and I believe he will have a much heavier hand this week because Johnson's, and I went back and watched the 15-minute game. So just watching it here. Johnson's offensive play calling was horrendous. It was awful. It's his first game doing it. So I'm not going to paint him as he's an idiot. He can't do this. There's no way he can succeed. But it was a bad game plan. Or Bill Belichick was just playing checkmate, checkmate, checkmate every time he tried to do something. Either one is troublesome to me. Both of them are troublesome.
Yeah, if Nick Sirianni is confused, as you put it, as to what Brian Johnson was doing, that's a bleep load of problem right there. You know it's this guy's first time calling a game. You know that you have to be there as a head coach, an offensive head coach. There's no way in hell that whatever he's doing, you don't know what he's doing or you're questioning why he's doing it. You have to be totally hands-on on that. I lean towards more of the second where I think they got their asses kicked.
So
I do. That. I think offensively, A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, they came out yesterday and were like, and right after the game, we're like, yeah, they were doing stuff that we didn't recognize at all. Now,
that's a bad thing to say publicly, by the way.
That could be a preparation thing, and you probably don't say it if you lose the game. You can say it that you won the game, you know what I mean?
Okay.
So if I'm a player, you could say, man, we didn't recognize what they're doing. We still came out with the win. You don't say that if you lost because then it's well, how the hell did you not recognize it? You know, what did they do that was so baffling? But the fact that these players, and we'll get into what Sirianni had to say yesterday about it, I think Belichick just did stuff that they were not ready for. And he changed things throughout the game, and they couldn't figure it out. And I don't know if they overcoached where they went to Jalen Hurts and said, look, key on one receiver, don't get tricky because they're going to fool you, because that's what he appeared to do. He appeared to lock in on a receiver all day long. I don't know, but I'm getting like little hints. It appears that maybe they just were handed. It was handed to them on Sunday.
Pat, are you on the line of thinking that it was just they were out coached? Because you got 2 rookie coordinators going up against Bill O'Brien and Bill Belichick, two of the most veteran guys doing what they do. in the game.
It certainly looked like they got outcoached. I thought the coaches were just so ill prepared, and I brought up yesterday, what does Nick Sirianni do during a game? Because he doesn't call the plays for the defense. He's not calling the plays for the offense. I'm not putting out an indictment on Nick Sirianni. I'm sure there's coaches out there that do it. But if you're not, watching the game from afar and seeing what's going on and seeing Dallas Goedert getting 0 targets and seeing DeAndre Swift barely play, not being a focal point of the offense, how do you not walk over to Bob's point and pull the first, the guy who's in his first spot ever as an offensive coordinator and go, hey, why don't you do this, this, and this? You've lost sight of
this guy. You've lost sight of this player.
I don't know what he did.
It can't be understated, and this is correct here. Jalen Hurts has to make adjustments too.
Oh, absolutely.
On the, you have A.J. Brown running a 15-yard out in front of you, and you're rolling to the right, and then above you have Dallas Goedert kind of running it in or finding a softness in the zone, and he's wide open 20 yards downfield. Yeah, that's incumbent upon Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts didn't play good on Sunday. I agree with that. I'm all in for that. I do just think that they were awfully confused on Sunday offensively.
I have no idea about those third down runs, those third and long running plays.
3rd and 10, you're giving it to your fourth running back,
third
running back.
And 3rd and 8, you did it again.
Yeah,
too cute. You've got the best. You argue, people, that they have the best receiving core in the NFL. So show me what you got. And more importantly, you had a guy who was number 1 in the NFL last year passing from the pocket. Why are you not doing that? Why are you calling designed runs? Why are you calling other teams, whether it works or not, are letting their star quarterbacks drop back, throw the ball in the pocket? They let Patrick Mahomes. They let Joe Burrow. They let Josh Allen, was terrible last night, got intercepted 3 times by the same guy. But it's like you let your quarterback with the big arm, the guy who can effectively deliver the football. You're not running 3rd and 8. You're not running quarterback draws. You're not running. I don't understand what they're doing.
Well, they threw him a lot in the second half. They changed it up. They threw him an awful lot in the second half because I guess they thought New England was taking away their running game. But the way they were throwing him, he was locking in on one receiver. There wasn't much open. There was double coverages. There was, just different. The offensive line wasn't great. I saw some numbers on them yesterday as far as giving up pressures and all that stuff.
In the first half, they were subpar for the whole league, but then in the second half, they really were pass protecting well.
Yeah, so, it's the first week of the season. We all know that. It's time to tighten things up and get things moving and all. I have confidence that the team will probably do that simply because of the talent that they do have. But if you're going to have a coach like Bill Belichick, I think, utterly confuse your offense, both coaches and players. I'm not talking just coaches, both coaches and players. The fact that you have an A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith coming out and saying, yeah, I don't know what they were doing, but it was good. Yeah, that's a little question mark in your head.
Yesterday, Cuz and Tunis were talking, and they were like, because I was taking it again, when Jalen Hurts and Nick Sirianni both come out and said, I think Brian Johnson was great. They both used great numerous times. He wasn't great. And Anthony said, well, you can't have your head coach or quarterback trash your offensive coordinator. I'm like, you don't have to trash him. But there's something in the middle. There's middle ground. You don't have to say great. You could say, we thought we had a good plan today, but boy, we came up against a really stout defense.
I'm the dumbest coach in the world.
Could be. Or you could say that he's outsmarting everybody, Pat. He may think that. He may think he's really smart. But the great thing just still, Anthony said, well, you can't trash the guy. You don't have to trash him.
I'm the smartest coach in the world.
But don't have the fans watch that game and then tell them that was a great game plan.
I think he's just sticking up for his guy.
Yeah, but you don't have to you can just say, we all had a day today. Going up against Bill Belichick. Man, that's a challenge for everybody. Great? Come on, Pat. I thought you wouldn't fall.
But this is why I don't watch the press conference. I don't care what he says after that game. I'm pissed off. I didn't think they played well. I didn't think they coached well. So I don't want to. Anything he tells me is just going to piss me off even more.
So I'll tell you what. Of all the, I'm sorry, John.
Sorry.
All the interviews I've done after games, after wins, losses, you have to take a grain of salt with the guys right after the game. It's a talented person. It's a talented person that can come off that field, court, ice with all the adrenaline flowing and be able to sit back and say, yeah, in this situation, I really think it would have. It's tough, John. It's tough. So that's why the post-game press conferences, you have to take out of them what you can, but to be so particular about them, I'm cautious with that. Yeah.
And Brian Johnson, again, Brian Johnson's a talented coach. He wouldn't be where he's at if he wasn't a talented coach. He's just got to have a better game, especially with those running backs. We'll get into that a little bit later on. In Cooney's Corner, Bob sort of thinks, though, we might have been better off if this happened.
Now, let's see what's in Cooney's Corner.
Now, it's looking a little too deeply into things, and yeah, this is probably an eye roll for some people, but something I thought. So you have to get done this game and move on to the next because it's Thursday.
Turn the page.
Usually we go to Wednesday, and we recap what happened on Sunday, and then, maybe midway Wednesday, and then Thursday, Friday, we look to the next game. We don't have that luxury this week, John.
No.
So my first thought was, we came in here and we're like, wow, Minnesota lost. Can you believe that? Minnesota lost to Tampa Bay. And my first thought was on Sunday when we were in here and we saw it happen was, I think a lot of people picked Minnesota to make the playoffs, whether an out of chance, whatever. But
everybody was picking them to beat Tampa last week.
Yeah, sure. And, they're not expected to be just a 500 team. They're expected to be a little bit better than that. And probably, like I said, a playoff team.
So, I saw 10 wins from a lot of people.
Yeah. Now you got a really bad loss. A really bad loss. And you're starting the season at home, losing to a team that's led by Baker Mayfield. And you have playoff expectations, and now you're going to Philadelphia for a Thursday night national game. There's a little sting going on in Minnesota.
Oh,
now,
yes.
We can break down the X's and O's, which we'll do today and tomorrow and on Thursday. But I just would have rather they kind of won that game and came in here at 1-0 instead of having that little sting of a loss.
I listened to a little of Minnesota sports radio yesterday. And let's just say they were being very calm and rational.
Is that right?
No, they were not. They're feeling it. And they're very worried about coming to Philly. Philly's obviously their boogeyman. And as they talk, they're like, oh. And then you go into Philly where, and there's a lot of questions that Kirk Cousins is being asked to do a lot with a little. I mean, I don't believe that is you got one great receiver.
Their receiving core is good.
And you got some but he is under duress the other day. It's going to be a much bigger challenge. That's what they kept talking about. A much bigger challenge to go out and try to beat the Eagles. So
I would sure hope it is than beating Tampa Bay and Baker Mayfield.
There's pressure though. They're feeling the pressure big time going into this game.
Sure.
So hopefully
that's
that works.
my point, yeah.
But I feel the way you do. I think I would have rather had them win that game. And it's stupid because there's no science to that.
No.
There's nothing.
But there is a desperation thing, and desperate,
right. And
desperate people, as we see with this manhunt, desperate people do strange things, and sometimes, you're not ready for it. I just, not that they would have come in here relaxed, we're 1-0, it doesn't matter. No, everybody's going to get pumped for the Eagles, especially NFC teams. All teams in football are going to have the Eagles circled on their calendar because they're one of the best teams in football. You can make a name for yourself. I think it's just a little more heightened when you start 0-1 if you're the Vikings rather than if you were 1-0.
And Connor's poor family. We didn't talk about this on the air yesterday. His lovely mother and his brother. Come on in, Connor, if you can. They made the trip. They made the trip to Minnesota and had to come home on that long day. But it had to be a long day. They had a good breakfast yesterday, though, which is good for them. Glad they got at least a breakfast before they got out of town.
Went to Denny's, huh?
No, they went to a great place. There's a lot of great. There's actually great eating.
Yeah,
in Minnesota.
Yeah,
not from chains. Great. Pat, come on now. You don't want to do chains.
Pancakes, you get the bacon.
I always will avoid a chain. If I go to another city, I always want to go to the hole in the wall. Tell me where to go that's not a chain. I'll never go to a chain.
There's a place around the corner here when you're there, your family.
Yeah, I think that's a chain.
It's just like this show.
I think that's a chain.
It's not. No,
it isn't.
It's
that's a standalone.
It's like walking into Italy. It's. I'll send you the address. It's right around the corner.
Connor, your family made it back. All right.
Yeah, they're good.
Your mom and brother, huge Viking fans.
They are. They made it back safe. I don't know if they made it back good.
You're not watching the game with them Thursday night, are you?
No. They don't want
'Cause
to
you
watch
have
the game
postgame
with me.
anyway.
I
Oh,
would
do you?
gladly watch the game with them.
So you would.
They don't want to watch the game with me.
But they love you. Your mother loves you.
They know how this goes.
They know how this
Are
goes.
you bad? Are you bad with
I will
them?
kill somebody.
Are you
if it
bad?
doesn't
Are you
go my
bad
way.
to watch a game with? If you were watching with your brother and your mother, and you're rooting for separate teams, are you obnoxious when your team scores?
Yeah, I'm rubbing it in.
Oh, jeez.
Why wouldn't I be?
It's your mama.
I know. You don't think they rub it in?
Oh, they do?
I had to hear about the Joe Webb game for like a decade.
Oh, okay.
I'm not going to give them any breaks. None. And it's Minnesota. Like, they're a second-class sports city.
She
No.
gave.
They're
She
not a
gave.
second class. They are the saddest sports city in America.
I was being nice.
Do you, there are a lot of them. Let's put it that way.
Like looking at it, and there are a lot, but the championships. They have 4 major sports. They haven't won anything.
Right.
Not since
legit. I'm not
95?
even like trying to poke fun.
No,
Like, it's
Timberwolves.
a sad,
Timberwolves and Wild. Nothing.
nothing.
Minnesota, nothing.
Twins. Nothing.
Vikings, sorry.
Vikings. Nothing.
Yeah,
The
like
Twins
it's
haven't won
it's
since
the
the 90s.
saddest.
Twins won in '91.
It's the saddest sports city in America.
It is bad.
Luckily, the weather's good.
You know what though? They are loyal people though.
I guess.
I think the weather builds that in a weird way. Like I think when you get to these cities that are like super cold and isn't paradise, I think you're going to have the most diehard fans there because it's like what they have.
What else are they gonna do?
Philadelphia's kind of a part of that too. It's like the wind and the cold and the winters here aren't great. They're not tremendous.
The winters here are not a
You don't have there's distractions of nice weather and beaches and stuff. It's like we have the birds. That's what we got.
Yeah.
And I don't feel bad for my brother. Like, it's not like he was born in Minnesota. It's not like we were born in different places or grew up different times and he's significantly older or younger than me. We had the same childhood. He chose wrong.
He's a mama's boy.
He chose
No,
wrong.
your brother
poorly.
you are saying is a mama's boy.
Sure, but
He wanted to cuddle up to mom,
I love my mom,
and you do.
but I'm not going to pick a terrible sports city for her.
Wow. I love it.
Sorry,
I
Mom.
love it. Don't you? I mean, Bob, he is right. He's right about this.
Connor's right. Yeah, your parents can't force you to be anything.
No.
They shouldn't. I remember when I was a little kid. I mean, little kid, 6 years old, maybe something like that, and sitting downstairs in my house and watching football, and my dad coming down saying, "What are you doing?" Now we had a black and white TV. He's like, "What are you doing?" And I said, "I'm watching the Eagles are playing." He's like, "That's not the Eagles. That's the Vikings." I couldn't tell their helmets apart because they had the swoosh on the helmet. But he was legitimately kind of mad at me.
No,
Really?
no, a lot.
Like,
it
that's
makes sense.
not the Eagles. And
A
I
lot
said,
with him.
okay, but I like the game anyway. And he kind of disgustedly walked
So
upstairs.
you're secretly a Vikings fan, and it
Wow.
finally comes out.
That's why
Skull,
Bob
skull,
picked them for the
skull.
NFC title game. Bob picked an NFC title game matchup. So, Connor, Locked On Phillies yesterday. You had it was very interesting watching your first one yesterday after the first loss.
Yeah.
The frustration's mounting.
No, for sure.
And you're a game behind last year's pace. And it shows you how bad the National League is. Last year, 87 was scraping your way in. This year, you're a game behind last year's pace, and you're up on the field.
Right. I'm not here to tell you the Phillies are playing good baseball right
They're
now.
not. No,
They're-
don't do
Right
that.
now, they're in a bad stretch. Well, the offense has been all right,
Sure.
but the pitching is a problem. What I'm looking at, though, is survive the last 20 games. Like, just get to the postseason.
We keep hearing this.
Yeah, I know. What more do you want?
Well, no, I want them to play well. I don't want them to be in a dogfight with the Cubs and the Diamondbacks, who you can combine their payrolls and almost meet the Phillies.
I totally got
It's
you.
ridiculous.
I know.
It's absurd. Losing a season series to the Marlins. Absurd.
Yes, you're absolutely right. We agree on all these points. Like, I'm not happy when they lose. I'm not okay with how they're
Right.
playing right now. But what I'll say is they went into the, and you've brought this up multiple times, they went into the postseason last year
4-8.
playing poorly.
Yep.
And it turned out okay. And I'm not saying, it's an automatic that this year's replicated. I'm just saying that as long as you end up still as the top wild card, that's where you wanted to be a month ago, 2 months ago, really since the season started with how good the Braves are.
And the silver lining is, and I heard you say it on your podcast and more, this team can play offense with them.
Absolutely.
They can
No
match
question.
them. And
Yeah.
so there's not many teams that can.
Yeah, this isn't
But the
David
pitching
versus
is
Goliath.
so subpar right now.
It is. You're absolutely right. And they've got to work that out. That's the biggest thing over the last 20 games. They got to figure out how to get this bullpen and a couple more starters right. But if they do, and even if they don't play home games, I mean, listen, they split yesterday, and the Braves did not have a bad day. It's
No,
not
they
like
had
the
a great
Braves
day.
came out and were terrible in that second game. No, you beat them playing pretty darn good baseball. They can hang with this team, but they have in-house problems they got to work out.
I know. I mean, it was frustrating.
It's funny, though. It's not so much workout for me. Like, you have to change something with the ball. It just has to happen.
Right.
Like, I don't know that the starting pitching for that 1 month that was phenomenal, they did something different, and then it went away. No, baseball's just that weird. Like, all of a sudden, Trey Turner can hit. All of a sudden, the bullpen stinks. You know, it just has to all come about at the same time. And if it does, they're one of the best teams in baseball.
Well, the offense is just amazing, and we'll have more of that. It is tonight. Talk about a playoff-type preview. Wheeler Freed. That is must-see TV tonight. You're not going to want to miss that one. Pat wants to know why this guy plays for one of his favorite teams. And I want to just give you a reasons, factual reasons, to remember last year's Eagles season and why this year's slow start on the road shouldn't be that big a deal to you. John Kincade Show, 97.5 The Fanatic. And I know that Landis Block and Concrete, you've heard me talk
WPEN Burlington, Philadelphia, a Beasley Media Group station. Official home of the Sixers, Flyers, Union, and the best Eagles talk in Philadelphia. 97.5, The Fanatic. Now, back to the John Kincade Show on 97.5, The Fanatic, Philadelphia.
7.5 has gone to 7 on that Eagles line. That's still a really hefty line to me. The Eagles favored by 7 in the game on Thursday night. Yes, you're like, right now, what, we like 60 hours to kickoff? Doesn't seem real, but the home opener comes your way Thursday, and Thursday is supposed to be beautiful. How about that?
73 and sunny.
Well, it's going to be a great night. Little crisp.
Oh, yeah.
I have a feeling that the happiest person will be Andrew Salchunas and Pat Egan.
Why?
Hoodie shorts people.
Oh, yeah. There's nothing better than the hoodie shorts weather.
And that is like the optimal, like 75 during the day, 59 at night, 62 at night.
It's the little things in life, Johnny.
Well, that's what I was thinking of you.
I appreciate that.
I always think of, for whatever reason, I think of Salchunas with that.
What's that? With
The hoodie and
shorts?
shorts.
That's a
Hoodie
great
and shorts.
Hoodie and shorts is like one of the best things in the world.
It's a, it is interesting to watch the joy that people feel with it. The change of weather. I love the change of weather.
I do. I love having 4 seasons.
So do I.
Yeah, I don't. I hear people, oh, I'm going to move to Florida so I can be warm all the time. No, I like a snowstorm. I like the fall. I like the change. I like looking forward to spring and then eventually summer. No, I wouldn't change it for the world.
It's going to be a gorgeous day on Thursday, and obviously pregame. You'll have the pregame show coming to you live right there from Live Casino with the Philly Sports Trips folks.
Yeah, FanDuel Sportsbook taking care of us. We'll be out there. It's going to be a boatload of fun. We'll be there bright and early. They're starting at 4. We're not going to start until 6.
They're starting at 4?
They start at 4, and I can't say that I won't be starting at 4 with them, if you know what I'm saying.
Vince Rizzuto knows how to throw a party with Philly Sports Trips, so check it out online and see if you want to be a part of it. Pat's going to have a couple Shirley Temples. He's going wild.
1 or 2.
He's going wild. You will not wander into the casino and play anything, though.
Nah, I'm good.
You will not do that. So
No.
But
I'll do all my betting from my phone.
right, and you'll find it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that happens. I mean, it is. Everybody has their own little preference. I can't be that close to a casino and not go in and play a couple hands of cards or something. I'm like, okay, I want to do that.
Chunas might wander in, I would imagine.
Yeah,
he
usually
likes to throw down some money.
A little bit, just a little bit, and get it started. I want people to breathe a little bit. And yesterday, look, we're not bringing sunshine and lollipops after that showing on Sunday. And you can absolutely be critical of what you saw on Sunday without being over the top and making grand proclamations about what you think this team is. I think this team's really good. I think this team's really talented. And I think we're going to have a great year. But I think what people are forgetting is there were many times last year when this team took its act on the road that they weren't really that impressive. Remember, in the beginning of the year, Detroit was horrendous. They were the worst record in the NFL through 7 weeks. You barely escaped them 38-35 week 1 when they had nothing figured out. You let them right in the mix and challenge you. You dominate Washington on the road. Then you go to Arizona, and we were there for that trip. We took it with our listeners, and it took a missed field goal at the end of the game to not send the game to overtime, or we would have been in an overtime game, and we were right there for it. Pat was putting a little body English on it, making sure that that ball didn't go through the uprights. So in 2 of your first 3 road games, you didn't play that great. Now, everybody was watching Game 5, of the World Series. Game 5 of the World Series, the night of the Houston game. So Houston's playing the Phillies in the World Series. Houston's playing the Eagles in football, Thursday night football. And the Eagles dialed up a terrible effort that night against Houston. They survived 29-17, but it was much closer than that. Then they go to Indianapolis and almost lose. It's 17-16, and you have to pull that out in the fourth quarter, down 16-3 in the fourth quarter. Jalen Hurts' probably worst showing of the year. You dominate the Giants, survive a bad Bears team, get smoked by Dallas with your backup quarterback. bottom line is this. The Eagles weren't that good in the road last year. They were fantastic at winning games. But if you go back, if you care about style points, if you care about how they played, the Eagles didn't play that great in the road last year. And they still won. And they still made the Super Bowl. And they still were tied with 5 minutes to go in the Super Bowl. Like, I'm not worried about the say, oh, wow, that was really not a good showing on the road. That was last year. Five of the 8 games, you didn't show out well.
Yeah, hey, that's the fraction of play that allows you to be 14-3 as opposed to like 11-6. And if you're 11-6 and you're not the number one seed, you're probably not going to the Super Bowl. You know, it's winning those close games. That's what magical seasons are about. You win games that you don't play your best. You win games that you aren't, going into a fourth quarter, you're not expected to. You have a quarterback making throws after he thought he broke his collarbone. Just that's magical stuff. And when teams win Super Bowls, championships of any kind, yeah, sometimes talent is just far superior, but a lot of times there's other factors that come into play. Last year, to get to the Super Bowl, other factors came into play, and you just labeled a bunch of them.
I mean, we'll say there are 5 games last year, Pat, where we all had reason to go, oh, boy, that wasn't very good. And this team turned it out, and they were great at home.
Well, the one that I immediately think of that'll make me feel better is just the first game of the season.
Right.
Because I didn't think they looked good in the first game of the season. And more importantly, I didn't think the offensive line looked good the first game of the season. And I thought one thing that surprised me the other day was the fact that I thought the offensive line was not very good. And they just didn't
first half, it plays out that way. First half, they were one of the worst in the NFL in the first half pass protection.
It was gross to watch. Like, I was really surprised that the Patriots, who basically have like one really good pass rusher, was consistently getting pressure on Jalen Hurts where he didn't have a lot of time to sit back and throw. The reality is that you had Mac Jones having more time than Jalen Hurts had to throw the football, and I was very surprised about that. Saw the same thing last year. They righted the ship. They got it together, so that makes me feel better.
I'm not concerned. I honestly, I'm not concerned. I walk away from that, and after watching the 15-minute game yesterday, I said, there is no way that they aren't getting under the hood, and Sirianni isn't saying, okay, we need to do this, we need to do that, we need to do this, that they're collaborating more.
Yeah, if they would have won 25-0, I'm still, that's just the way and I told you guys this story before. When I was young and in high school and played a game and had a really good game, and the next day the coach says at practice to me, on this play you didn't do this. And it hit me like, oh my God, I'm a sophomore. I stepped in, I thought I had a really good game. And the first thing he tells me is what I did wrong. Okay, that's okay. It became okay with me. At first I was like, wow, are you kidding me? But that's how my life kind of formed. Like, nothing's ever perfect. So if they won 25-0, I'm still looking under the hood and saying, why wasn't it 30-0? Why wasn't this? What can you do better? You always have to look better. Yeah, win is a win, and that's the ultimate. That's great. But if you sit on your laurels and just say, well, they won, and it's okay, and he'll be all right. No, you got to adjust. You have to get better.
There's nothing worse, though, than oh, God, just be happy they won. No, because we actually watched the freaking game.
That's not sports.
And that's not sports. And it matters how you play.
Hey, don't worry about it. Enjoy the win,
And it matters how you do that. And the only people who do that are the people who are trying to deflect criticism. Andy Reid in a press conference. Jalen Hurts. All I care about is the win. All I care about. Guess what? It matters, Jalen. It matters how you threw the football. It matters how you dealt with pass protection. It matters how they used the running backs.
They know.
It matters.
They know that. It's just that. They come off. So, all right, we're fans and we watch it and we say, God, they could have been so much better, but at least they won. The players are saying, man, we were bleepy.
Exactly.
We were bleepy and we still won. So that's their narrative. Okay, at least we won the game. Understandable. I have no problem with them coming out and saying, well, we got the win. That's the most important thing. Yes, it is. It is, but I know that in their minds, in their heads, I know that Jalen Hurts doesn't think he played well, nor does A.J. Brown, Dallas Goedert, Devontae Smith, whoever you want to say. They're not going to think that they did all they could have done to get this team to play their best.
The best thing about Nick Sirianni and his tenure, and Pat, I mean, this is where, at least where I'm at, I completely buy into the fact that that they're going to be totally fine and take care of business on Thursday night. They're not going to come out with another effort like that.
I don't think they'll come out with another effort. I am a little concerned, and I put my concern at probably like 6%, 7% of Minnesota having this game circled from last year. I don't think you're going to have another game where Darius Slay has more catches than Justin Jefferson. I'd find it hard to believe it.
No, I don't think you'll have that either.
But I think we'll figure out pretty early on whether it's going to be a game that we can just laugh about. You know, we can come in on Friday and laugh about our Monday and Tuesday shows, me in particular, or it's a level of concern because when you have bad Kirk Cousins, it's pretty evident early on.
I'm just looking at the fact that there are people who believe that like they can make statements already about both coordinators. And to me, that is the most foolish thing to come out of the weekend. If you think you know what Sean Desai is, or you think you know what, like people were loving the pressure of Sean Desai. I thought that the pressure of Sean Desai maybe could have been adjusted because they were selling out, they weren't getting home, and they were leaving the middle of the field wide open. I don't think that was a standing ovation for Sean Desai, but I also am not making any judgments on Sean Desai's body of work, knowledge of the game, or otherwise. I'm believing that Nick Sirianni's a smart guy and knows that he can, okay, this guy will round into this. It's not day one. Remember, the two new coordinators, Jonathan Gannon and Shane Steichen, who are both now head coaches, 2 years ago started out 2-5, and it was terrible. It was terrible.
Yeah.
Both sides of the ball.
You can have questions. No doubt.
Right.
That's what we do. That's what we do as fans, as where we are, everything. You can have questions. They can grow to concerns at some point. I don't think it's concerning yet. I think it's questioned now simply because we don't have all the information. We don't know exactly what Sean Desai is going to do. I was surprised that there wasn't more stunning. I was surprised that there was just man-on-man beat them defensive line.
By the way, in the 15-minute game, I did count twice. Twice.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not what we're used to seeing.
No, it's not.
But maybe it's his approach. It's a little different. We'll see.
And you were going against two guards you were going against an offensive line that never played together before. So I can understand saying to your defensive line, go beat them. You should be able to go beat them. They didn't do it all that well. So we'll probably see something different. But, yeah, there's plenty of questions to be had. That's okay. I don't have I don't have concerns yet. Concerns grow in my book. Questions start. They grow to concerns after a little while when you have more evidence of things.
7 a.m. hours brought to you by the all-new Bet Parks app. Sportsbook and casino in one sleek, easy-to-use app in Pennsylvania and New Jersey, and I already informed you. That line's at 7. Now, you can adjust it. You can make it 7.5 if you want to buy the hook, or if you want to go under. You want to make it 6.5, you can do that too. You can manipulate all those things, and a first-time winner of a $10 bet's going to get $125 in free sportsbook bets that you can use. So as we begin this 7 o'clock hour, Pat, you're wondering about, and I got to tell you, watching Jake Cave play baseball can be frustrating at times. I don't think he's been as terrible as he's made out to be, but you're a little frustrated with it.
Very frustrated. Let me hit the button.
Do it.
This is Pat's point of view. Here's Pat.
Hi, guys.
Hello.
Hi, Pat.
So, my name's Pat. I'm a Phillies fan. It's my favorite
Hi,
team.
Pat.
Thank you.
Hi, Pat. We're proud of you.
Thank you.
Tell your truth. Speak your truth as opposed to my truth or Bob's truth.
I was watching the Phillies' first game yesterday. I was watching on a little bit of a delay. And sitting there watching Jay Cave in left field. And I thought to myself, why is Jay Cave playing baseball for my favorite team? Why is this happening right now in September in the middle of a race to get to the playoffs? And, it wasn't great at it.
Did you come up with an answer?
I didn't come up with an
You didn't
answer.
get an answer.
Other than the fact that he could play the outfield and first base. That's the only logical conclusion I have for why Jay Cave has a position on this team. But he's there. Okay. So first game, fine, whatever. They once again botch an opportunity to carry over the momentum of a Bryce Harper dramatic home run. They lose that game. Second game lineup comes out, and Jay Cave's playing again. Why are we doing this to ourselves?
They don't value defense.
I don't get it. Jay Cave isn't all that great at baseball. He's pretty mediocre. He's hitting 230. He's got 5 home runs on the season. Is this guy indispensable? I don't understand. I'd rather have I'm drawing a blank on his name. The first baseman, Derek Hall. I'd rather have Derek Hall up here than Jay Cave.
Hitting bombs.
Yeah, Derek Hall's been crushing the ball at AAA. Jay Cave is a journeyman who will not be on the team next year. What in the world are we doing? We have better options in the outfield, whether it be Rojas, Pache, even Brandon Martian left is a better option.
Martian left, I'm fine with.
I think everybody's fine with Martian left, right?
Just put Rojas where he belongs. He is a
he's
superior
a
center fielder.
But this experiment, it's one of the I'll put like the 5 big problems I have with Rob Thompson this season of we just have to force Jake Cave into the lineup as if Jake Cave is all of a sudden, hitting 40 home runs. He's not. You suffer with Kyle Schwarber's poor defense because he hits 45 to 50 home runs. Okay, that's great. They're fun to watch. When Jake Cave's hitting 5 home runs and he's hitting 230 and he's not playing exceptional defense, the fact that we have him on the team because he can play left field and first base. He can't play either of them great. So what's the point of having him? I don't understand the logic of why I was forced to watch Jake Cave not once yesterday, but twice. I mean, I got my fill of Jake Cave. I got 7 hours of it. Like, what the hell are we doing?
Why don't
They're
you
in the middle of a race here.
Play defense is what I say, though.
And this isn't even
like the thing is, though, they do not value defense. Which makes no sense to me.
But like, if you don't value,
you were built to out hit teams. Go ahead, Pat.
If you don't value defense, then you don't value offense either because he's hitting 230. So I just don't get it.
Can I join your rant?
284 on base percentage. Go ahead, please.
All right, everything you just say, and put in Christian Pache for me. I'm done. Like, stop it.
And you had to see it again yesterday.
Stop it. So, 2 strikeouts. He comes up there. Connor was talking about guys hitting 350 bats. Okay, if he goes 0 for his next 6, he's down to 240. Can we stop with this? Why is Rojas all of a sudden delegated to the bench, who gave you excitement, who is such a good fielder, for Christian Pache? Like, seriously? If they're just even in defense, let's say, which I think Rojas is a better defender, they're probably even batting, although Rojas seems to have a better presence up at the plate than Pache, who is a career 179 hitter. What are you doing?
It's so ridiculous.
I don't mind Pache as an experiment to see if you can, turn him into something, a reclamation project. And it's amazing because I'm sitting there watching Matt Olson hit 2 home runs, going, Christian Pache was the big piece in that deal. But like with that, to John's point, Christian Pache brings exceptional defense. He brings at least something to the table.
Yes.
Jake Cave doesn't bring an exceptional bat, and he doesn't bring exceptional defense. He brings the definition of mediocrity, if not below that.
And how much would the pitchers love to know that they got a guy who covers that much ground that is going to catch the damn ball?
Yeah, I think they'd enjoy that. I mean, Christian Pache, yes, right. Bob, to your point, he's. I don't think anybody's excited when Christian Pache heads to the plate, but his defense is exceptional. And I think this lineup is good enough where you can have a hole in one of the spots, right? But when you have Jake Cave out there, to me, it just makes no sense. Randall Grichuk, who I know he's a righty bat, but he passed through waivers twice. He actually can hit. Like, he can hit with power. I don't understand the logic of why I'm forced to watch Jake Cave on my baseball team. Make it stop.
All right, enough of Jake Cave. Enough for Jake, but Jake, sorry. But I think I heard no lies there, Pat.
Well, you had to rest Alec Bowman that second game last night.
You have to rest him because poor Alec Bohm. It's just, the kid's tired. Mid-20s, you get tired, Bob. It's so freaking stupid. It drives me nuts. It drives me absolutely nuts. No urgency at all. No pulse. It's crazy. Hey, what are you going to find at Macy's backstage? Well, here's a hint. Fall finds are $25 and under, like sharp blazers, cozy sweaters, cargo pants, jackets, and more. Find the latest trends and new arrivals at a Macy's backstage store near you. So check that on out and get some of those great values there. Again, that Eagles line, 7. Doesn't that seem suspicious to you? That's a dominant line. You rarely see 7 points or more nowadays in the NFL. Even bad
the Eagles are supposed to be a dominant team. I mean, they're supposed to be the class team of the NFL.
Vikings are projected to be a 9.5 win type of team.
Well, it's reactionary. Vegas is smart. They just lost to Tampa Bay.
Well, they don't believe in them then.
Well, they don't believe in them right now.
Does it give us a clue, though, that they don't believe in what they are?
I think they're very reactionary. They're smart. They know that fans are going to react. They know that fans are going to say, my God, Minnesota lost to Baker Mayfield at home. Vegas is pretty smart at this stuff. So I thought the line was going to be 6.5, 7. We talked about it on Sunday after
So
the
you did
Eagles
you
game.
did think that? I
That's
said 5.5. I thought 5.5 after the Eagles' effort and after watching Tampa Bay. I thought 5.5. And by the way, if you have that NFL Plus and you can watch it, the 15-minute game, go watch Tampa and Minnesota. And I think the Eagles' next two opponents won't scare you. Nothing will scare you about either team except Justin Jefferson being a absolute beast.
over under Justin Jefferson receiving yards for Thursday night. What do you think it is?
114.
96.5.
Oh, I'd bet it.
I think
he's going to have a big game. I think he's going to have a big game.
Bradbury's out. You saw what the Eagles defense gave up over the middle. Yeah, it kind of lends to thinking, okay, let him have his, but don't let him beat you. Type of night. 10 catches, 120 yards, something like that.
You want to let him. They used to do this. The Eagles did this over and over again with Julio Jones. Julio Jones would have 90-yard games, 100-yard games against the Eagles, and nothing in the red zone. They would blanket him inside the 20s. He was useless. But in midfield, he ran free and would get all those stats. But Justin Jefferson is just a beast.
He is phenomenal.
He's a beast.
Yeah.
Hey, if your basement or crawl space smells musty, or you've got watermarks on the block walls, you need to get a completely free home inspection from the experts. Call BQ Basements and Concrete because the problem is only going to get worse. And we're going to get more rain in the next few days, bringing in fall. And I heard that this morning, that fall this may be the harbinger of fall. We're going to have a rainy day tomorrow morning, and that we may not see another 90-degree day. That summer is definitely behind us.
All right, John.
Which would be great.
What are you pounding the steak in my heart?
You love summer.
You know how much I love
I
summer.
love summer too, but I'm still looking forward to this Eagles season and whatever becomes of a red October. I'm ready for it.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, now the question is Bob ready to decipher what Nick Sirianni said yesterday in his press conference?
He's not ready.
I'm betting on Bob. I looked at my Bet Parks app right now, sponsors the 7 o'clock hour. They've got Bob right now minus 175 that he knows he's coming through.
I'm not hitting that without an odds boost.
All right, well, you might be able to get it. John Kincade Show. Speak for yourself with Bob Cooney comes your way next here on 97.5 The Fanatic. Our friends at Window Nation.
The Fanatic, Philadelphia.
I'm betting on Bob Cooney to come through here, and I'm using the Bet Park Sportsbook app. Make your college and pro bets. It's awesome. You got college football, pro football coming up this weekend. The college football slate's ugly as hell. A lot of lopsided games, and I usually sit those weekends out.
It's usually like that with the first, with the,
Like in the
the
first
second or
3
third
weeks.
Second or third week, it's usually like Temple's playing Norfolk State this weekend.
Yeah.
It's the kind of tune up, gimme win. A lot of teams.
A lot of games, though. I mean, I'm seeing spreads 28, 31, 34. I hate those.
Oh, over
Yeah,
the
no.
weekend it was ugly.
Yeah, it was ugly.
In terms of like the spreads, yeah, to your point, it was like I think Georgia was favored by 45.
41 and a half. Or
Okay.
42, 41 and a half was the closing line, I believe.
Yeah, okay. All right,
Oh,
so
my
I got him in
God.
And it was
42 and it pushed.
It was a
And it
push,
pushed,
yeah. That's
exactly.
amazing. I saw that on Sunday. I was
These
like,
guys
push.
know. By the way, shout out to the turds at Jack's American Pub on Milwaukee's East Side. They have a rule when at a bar, when the Jets lose, you win. They will pay your drink tab when the Jets lose. So they're getting people in there to watch Jets games when Aaron Rodgers was supposed to be playing, and they will. The rules were the tabs open 15 minutes before kickoff. No pitchers, top shelf liquor or food. Rodgers must start the game. And you get your tab picked up if the Jets lose. When they have video of it, when Aaron Rodgers went down, the entire bar erupted in cheers. And when they found out he had to be carted off, it got louder. It's terrible. It's absolutely atrocious. That I don't know. I don't understand. I understand fandom, and I understand like Pat and I both hate the Mets. Like we hate the Mets. And I never in my life could imagine being such a ghoul that I would cheer for someone being carted off or someone having it's just bad karma. It's just bad karma in life.
It's not good. It's not a good personality trait.
No, it's not.
You know, like it's just not.
Trying to read into what Nick Sirianni means sometimes is like trying to decipher fortune cookies. But Bob Cooney's been to 1 million press conferences. He's interviewed a ton of these coaches. He knows what he actually meant, and that's why we give you every single game week, we give you Speak for Yourself.
And now it's time for Bob Cooney's Speak for Yourself. Here's Bob.
Yeah, and it was all Nick Sirianni yesterday talking about that 25-20 win over the New England Patriots. And the first thing that was brought up to him was about Dallas Goedert only getting one target, about the offense maybe sputtering just a little bit.
Sometimes it's what the defense is doing, and yeah, you never want it to happen, but it does. I said to our coaches, not like we were throwing it to some bums on the outside. We were throwing it to A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. You want to, you make it part of your plan to get to them, but sometimes defense takes it away. Sometimes it's just the way the flow of the game's going. And again, like I said, I know how those touches worked out for those guys yesterday, but we were also getting it to guys that we felt like could change the game as well and prove over time that they can change the game also in A.J. and Devontae.
Okay, so I'm going to read into this a little bit.
Yeah, I want to
maybe
hear this.
too
I
much.
can't wait.
We didn't really know what to do to counteract what New England was doing. So, and I'll give them props on this. I would probably do the same thing. If other teams are taking so many things away, I'm going to go to my best players. And I'm going to say, hey, Devontae, AJ, I need you to overcome whatever Bill Belichick is doing right here and now because they are confusing us. So we're going to try to get you out. So we're going to try to go for it on 4th and 2 and stare you down the field in the hopes that you get open. I'm going to go to my best players. In that regard, I give him props. I do. Because when push comes to shove, if I'm in a fight and my right hand is better than my left hand, I'm throwing my right hand. If you're in a fight in a football game and you need your offense, a sputtering offense to get better, I'm going to my best players. So I give him that. But it also leads to what my next thing is here, that I do think he was a little confused. So in the next thing that we have here from Nick Sirianni, he's asked about, you had a big play downfield with A.J. Brown that was called back. You didn't have many more big plays. What was it?
They tried to stay in front of everything, and they did a good job of doing so, whether that was by changing the coverages or just by playing soft zones and getting underneath our receivers' routes, forcing us to check the ball down underneath. We know how important it is to create explosives. Credit to the New England Patriots by taking those away last night.
Okay.
All right, no problem there. He said it. They took it away. They took it away.
Why didn't you adjust then?
His first, I don't know if they knew how. I think everything. Look, when
That's the red flag that's just going off in my head right now. Going, he's saying things that they didn't adjust.
Coaching is such a chess game, and I never saw it any better than people telling me about Larry Brown in the Sixers and watching a game for 3 minutes and not saying a word, and then saying, "Okay, here we go," and then boom, here comes the chess match. It's a chess match oftentimes in football, and Bill Belichick, whether you agree or disagree, is an unbelievable defensive coach.
Amazing.
He had a great game against, I think, the Eagles on Sunday. The more that I read and hear and all of that stuff, I think Belichick just had a really, really good game on Sunday.
And Bill O'Brien.
And Bill O'Brien,
yes.
Bill O'Brien too. But I think the bigger disadvantage was that the Eagles' offense couldn't get going, and I think Belichick had a lot to do with that. All right, the third thing from Nick Sirianni was talking about the defensive line and the rotations that he had last year and what they were looking for early on in the game this year.
Guys were in great shape, and Fletch was able to play the amount of plays that he played in because he's worked really hard to put his body in the shape that it's in now to be ready to go. And same thing with Jordan and Jalen. I thought Milton played an excellent game with a good rotation, and I just really thought that the rotation, the way the coaches handled rotation was really good, and obviously the same thing with the way the players were ready to go and handle their role within that rotation.
I couldn't agree more. I like the rotation. I like that there was different people going around. The way they executed, okay, we can question that. I've talked about it, the stunts that there was lack of in that game. I think they were just told to beat your man one-on-one. I think 90% of people would have done the same thing. You're going against an offensive line that never played with each other.
Right.
Dumb it down.
Win your battle.
Win your battle. No reason to get fancy. No reason to change it. Just go win your battle. Now, the person it hurts most, I think, when you say that is Hassan Reddick. I think Hassan Reddick is so much better at when there's stunts, when there's stuff going on inside that makes offensive linemen look around. He is so great at taking advantage of that. When you say go beat your man, okay, on Sunday it just didn't work all that well for him, but I think he'll be fine when it comes to getting to the quarterback as this year goes on. All right, last thing here. It's still about the defensive tackles, but it's mostly talking a little bit about that guy that you've come to really love, John, and you've loved for a long time. How about that Jalen Carter?
They did a good job of getting the ball out. And Jalen, when we were able to get pressure, even when they got the ball out and there was pressure, I just kept seeing Jalen in those scenarios of where he was. Cool stat. I always like those types of stats. The most pressures in the last 5 years, that's a cool stat and one I'll remember there. But I thought he did a really nice job. It was his first game, and we got a lot more.
I love that finish. And we've got a lot more.
We got a lot more.
Yeah, that's
cool. That's a nice stat. I like that. That is,
yeah.
Best rookie performance in 5 years.
Yeah,
in any game, not his first game.
Yeah,
any game.
It came out, more people saying it looked like 8 quarterback pressures that he got. The numbers are really, really good. You can only imagine it's going to get better. He was going against a patchwork offensive line, so he's going to face better competition. But you look at him and you wonder, does the competition matter, or is it all about Jalen Carter? And we'll see in weeks to come. But I loved, as we talked about yesterday, that those guys were just out there. And it shows that Sean Desai trusts having them out there. And I thought they used Fletcher Cox pretty well yesterday.
I like Fletcher Cox.
Sunday.
Fletcher Cox played 62% of the snaps, Bob.
Yeah, and
we didn't see that much last year. That's a big number for him. Nakobe Dean played 61 before his injury. Jalen Carter, 50%. Jordan Davis, 44%. That's the number that jumps out at me.
Yeah.
Seeing Jordan Davis being able to, maybe he's being pushed by Carter. You got to be out there. You got to be a 3-down guy.
He's got to be out there. I don't care if it's you pushing him. We talked about it last year. He can't be.
I don't think I could move him, Bob.
Yeah, but he can't just be a situational guy. You can't have that. And I got a little bit nervous earlier on when I saw Jordan Davis and Jalen Carter switching each other out. I want to see those big boys out there together. We saw it a few times. You're talking about one guy that played 50% of the snaps, another guy 44%. So maybe they were switching in and out for each other an awful lot. But when they were out there, they both made their presence felt an awful lot. So I think that's going to benefit Fletcher Cox down the line, a Brandon Graham, and then obviously your outside rushers. Once they get everything intact, I think we're going to see big numbers from Hassan Reddick again.
And 77% of the snaps for him, which is great. And Josh Sweat, the most snaps. He had 78%.
Yeah.
And in Sweaty season, I know our man Jamie
Shweddy?
A big believer in in that. I think the further you get away from like 7:35 on Sunday night when the game ends, the further we get away from it, the better you should feel about it. And I'm not trying to be Pollyanna at all.
No, I feel like that's normally how it works. Like when a win feels like a loss.
It didn't to me though feel like a loss, but I understand what you're saying.
Yeah,
as far as that.
I mean, in the sense of like I didn't think it should have been that close, and it was. I didn't feel great coming out of it. But I think most of the times when you take those kind of games, the farther you get away from it, the better you feel about it.
Yeah,
you start realizing like all around the league, it wasn't great play this week. It's tough to win on the road. We all know that.
I'm still very much a big believer, and the 7 points, I think I'm going to potentially lay that down right now. It's a little early, and maybe I could always buy it down to 6.5.
It might go down because now that we definitely know Bradbury's in protocol, I would be. I'm not going to say shocked. I would be surprised if he's out there on Thursday night. You lost a linebacker.
Especially with 10 days coming.
Yeah. You lost a linebacker who was calling your defense.
Yeah.
And they're thin at that position anyway. So you're another turned ankle away from playing guys that you cut, guys that you just picked up. And you're going against the best wide receiver in football. So I could see that line maybe going down a little bit before Thursday.
Are you, Pat, are you leaning towards right now? Last week you were wanting the big win. You wanted to see that.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't call for the big win, but you were wanting to see it.
I think I did call for it.
Did you call? I thought you said 10. I mean, 10's big.
10's big.
10's big. Yeah, I think 10's big.
Yeah, I mean, the spread was like 4.5. So
4.5, right.
10's very big. I think the Eagles cover. Yeah, I would take the Birds.
Yeah, I'm leaning towards it right now because I could also see this thing going the other way. There's something with Minnesota that the odds makers know. Because that's a big line. That is a big line for a week 2 game. Eagles are 7-point favorites. I'm going to find out, are they the biggest? No, the Raiders are 8.5-point underdogs to the Bills in Buffalo. And the Jets are now 7.5 underdogs at the Cowboys. That's it. So the Eagles are the 3rd biggest favorite this week. And something smells about that. Like, to me, there's something they know about Minnesota that Minnesota's not that good.
Yeah, it seems to me like Vegas might be saying it's going to be a blowout.
And last year, remember, 24-7 was the game on the second game of the year, was that 24-7 game. So the numbers are all there. You'll have pregame, though, which is going to be awesome, coming up on Thursday.
Yeah, live casino presented by FanDuel. Me, Andrew, and Pat will be out there. We start at 6 o'clock after the best show ever. We'll take you right up until game time. But the tailgating with Philly Sports Trips starts at 4 o'clock.
You need it. By the way, you need a pass to be able to tailgate with Philly Sports Trips.
Yes.
And Bob will be there.
I have a feeling I will.
I think Bob... Pat,
now, it's a business decision, John.
Oh, yeah. You're trying to get the pulse of the fans, right?
I got to get there before the parking is really crazy.
Right.
So I got to get over there and make sure I'm secure in the spot that I have to be in.
You're selfless,
if
what
it
you're telling
just
me.
so happens to be 4 o'clock, how you doing? Here we are. Let's go.
Pat, my Bet Parks app has the over-under on Bob first appearing at the tailgate at 4:02. Over-under.
I would go over, but it's not.
I'm going
that
over, but
far
not too much,
over.
right?
Yeah,
I think that number's going to move.
Max, I would say he'll be there by 4:30.
I'm jumping on it right now, though. I'm going to jump on it.
He'll absolutely be there by 4:30.
It'll be a lot of fun there, though. So yesterday afternoon we have a doubleheader with the Phillies. Now tonight, this is a great matchup. Like, this to me is one of those when you see a pitching matchup fall into place, you say, okay, this is one you want to make sure at 6:40 p.m. you're in front of your TV. Max Fried, Zach Wheeler. And Max Fried's an exceptional young pitcher, but he's been injury prone and he's been fighting injuries. So God knows you got a chance to jump on him. By the way, Max Fried has never been great against the Phillies. Very, very average. He's been good, below probably like a 3.6, something like that. But he's never been great against the Phillies. Never dominated them. Zach Wheeler tonight, though, has been on a roll. And this is the kind of night where you want Zach to step up and just send the Braves a little message.
Yeah,
send them a message.
Playoff atmosphere tonight. I agree with you. Yesterday I went to the first game, and with the shadows being a little different because of the time of year it is and all, I had that feeling of playoff baseball.
It felt that way?
But no, I only had it. The place wasn't nearly filled because it was a makeup game.
Right,
yeah, it's an afternoon game, a school day, all that stuff. But I had it in me, like, all right, playoff baseball. And maybe it's why I came away with, I was kind of impressed by the way the Phillies battled back. It sucked that they lost, and they had some defensive miscues, as we all know, and the pitching wasn't great. But I did. I liked the way they kept battling and battling and battling, and then winning the game last night. Tonight is absolutely, to me, playoff atmosphere. I'm going into tonight's game watching it as if it's like a playoff game.
Yes.
Yeah, and it's gonna make me feel good or bad more so than I normally would at game 144 or whatever it is, 145.
Is that a mistake?
No,
is
that's
that a
just
mistake?
me.
I mean, it's how I'm gonna go into it tonight. I'm gonna be there. I want to be there first pitch. I want to sit. I want to see a little Ricky Bell before the game, things like that. So I want to be able to get into that. But Pat, I wonder if am I putting too much emphasis on one regular season game, or am I just clinging to Zach Wheeler being our best hope? I mean, he's the best hope that things are going to be able to turn into something come October.
Probably a little bit of both. Like, the pitching hasn't been great. We knew that. Mm-hmm. It's one of my big fears for the postseason. It's probably the number one reason I don't think it's that deep of a run this year is the pitching just hasn't been there all season long. It's been up and down. A couple of guys have shown up here and there for stretches, but it hasn't been a consistent effort, whether it be starters or the bullpen. So I don't think you're totally off base.
But yeah.
It's who knows with this team. They're just nothing would surprise me with this team. If they go in the wild card and they ended up getting swept, it wouldn't surprise me. If they go out and end up putting it on every team and going to the World Series and winning it, it wouldn't surprise me. They're an inconsistent baseball team.
You know what?
It's funny. If we really think about it, we're going to be honest with ourselves, John. It kind of comes full circle and hasn't changed much from what we thought at the beginning of the season. What did we think? This team is built to rake. This team is built to
92. I thought 5 more wins.
This team is to get. Shoot, I had it here somewhere.
They're not getting to 92.
To get to 92, they got to go 13-5.
I don't
for
think
the
they're
rest of
doing
the way.
that.
Probably not. But point being, at the beginning of the year, with Trey Turner, the lineup that they had, they got to out-hit people. Hopefully the pitching's going to be okay. We all knew that Nola was up and down, all of that stuff. When the season gets over, we're going to be right there. We're going to say this team's going to have to outrate teams.
Yes,
and we're going to have to hope that the pitching is better than we thought so that they can win playoff games.
By the way, shout out to the fans. And I don't know if anybody else has watched this, but Nerd Boy definitely has. The Phillies right now, with 10 home games left, have drawn 2,744,000 fans. They have to average 25.5 the rest of the way in order to draw 3 million. This is going to be the first 3 million crowd, Pat, I believe, since 2011. That's pretty freaking awesome. And it shows that last October paid off for this franchise. And I would imagine if they make the postseason again, you can count on 3 million next year because Citizens Bank Park's a fun place to hang out.
Yeah, it is. It's when the team's good, it's the place to be in the summertime.
And a 3 million, I got to tell you, I didn't expect 3 million this year. I thought they'd get close.
I did.
You did. You thought it'd be a 3 million?
Yeah, I thought it would pretty much be close to sellouts most games. The fever of the fan base, the run last year, getting in the playoffs, and especially the combination, combine all of that, they went out and got Trey Turner. I thought it was like the team kind of loaded up to go not only back to the World Series, but win it. Yeah, and then the games got played, and Trey Turner got in the slump and all that, but it just, people already had their tickets. Team was still winning. Wasn't like they were on a losing streak or anything like that. And yeah, I figured that they would eclipse it or get pretty damn close to it.
Winning does good things to fans.
It does, but it's sustained, though. This team they're actually behind last year's pace. I mean, they're playing worse than they did last year. And they are
worse, but oddly,
the fans probably bought their tickets in advance.
Worse in terms of wins, but oddly better in terms of the standings.
Yeah, that just tells you how bad the National League is.
It's bizarro world.
Yeah, it's bad.
Does that mean it was a successful season?
Yeah, I mean, well, if this is, when this will be a successful season, and I honestly believe if this team goes to the NLDS and battles their ass off, I'll be glad to call it a successful season. Win a wild card series, go to the NLDS, play a superior team, and battle your butts off. I'll have no problem saying, okay, I'm okay with the season. I'm okay with how it went. I'm not pleased. And next year, I'm not going to just accept. Again, I'm not one of those people who just accepts 15 games out in your division is cool. Next year, you should. John Middleton should say, we should be able to compete in our division. We should be able to stay close. We shouldn't be buried in May. And he should expect more from his investment. And we'll see what comes next year.
Braves are 45 games over 500.
It's unbelievable.
Like,
they're going to win.
You
They're going
can't
to
help
win.
that.
Well, last year you played a team that was 100. Last year you played a team that won 106 in the World Series.
Yeah.
And they had an absolutely amazing year. And you played them toe to toe. And again, it's that offense that hopefully will lead you to that. Want to thank cousin Matt today. Cousin Matt, who
What's up, Matty?
got this Marion hat for me.
Yeah, it's nice.
So, and I hope to see Marion at some point, except driving by it at some point in my life. So, Bob, I mean, I'm not expecting bad news from the doctors. Dr. Sprandio hasn't been hiding bad news from me, but I'm hoping that I'll just battle my way through this. And then in 2024, I'm thinking Marion's on. I think Marion's on our bucket list. It's coming. You've walked it. You've covered a U.S. Open there. I mean, you covered a PGA Championship there.
No,
US Open.
I was there for 6 straight days. Yeah, I mean,
And
I
it's
knew
an
every
amazing
foot
place.
of that play. It is amazing.
Now, you were wet for many of the days.
Yeah, I went through like 4 pairs of shoes that I'll never forget that week because it was just so
Crazy.
muddy. But God, what a beautiful golf course!
Yeah, it's going to be awesome. So thanks, Matt. I appreciate it. And Pat, Ryan the fireman, your buddy, did something the other night on, I forgot to mention it yesterday on FaceTime. He asked Christina and I after the Eagles game what were we doing? Could we FaceTime with him? And he was shaving his head.
Oh, that's cool.
And he shaved his head.
Good
so
man,
he followed Egan, he followed Connor, he did, and he shaved his head. It looks pretty good. So love you, Ryan. And if you have a fire in Wilmington, you hope that Ryan shows up at your house. So I'm getting a lot of love, and I appreciate it. I appreciate the people sending the hats, and you are greatly appreciated, and things are going pretty well. All right, coming up, the short week could potentially cause some issues for the Eagles. We're going to talk about and more. It's John Kincade Show here on 97.5, The Fanatic. Look, I tell you.
official home of the Sixers, Flyers, Union, and the best Eagles talk in Philadelphia. 97.5 The Fanatic. Now, back to the John Kincade Show on 97.5 The Fanatic, Philadelphia.
Well, they have lots of great things to say about Jalen Carter, but as far as the defensive line, we just didn't do enough. We had 2 sacks at the end of the game. We didn't hit them. They won the passing game. They had more yards than us. They were more accurate than us. They had a short passing game, understanding the weather conditions and understanding that defensive line of the Eagles is, can generate pressure. So what do? They go to a short passing game. They pick us apart. We should have done the same thing. Instead of going down the field with deep passes and intermediate passes, let's just get a short game going. And that also puts, the timing better with Jalen Hurts. I think they outcoached us in the passing game as well as, defensively understanding how to shut our offense down. We just couldn't get in. And you said it perfectly. We were lethargic on how we approached this game. Very, very lethargic in the game.
That's Barrett Brooks on the best show ever yesterday from NBC Sports Philadelphia. That's why you don't want to miss the best show ever. Get a little analysis from the win. That listening to Barrett, he also, too, earlier in the interview, talked about the fact that, calm down. It'll take a couple games to get it going.
Don't worry about it. Enjoy the win, man.
But he was very critical. Very, very critical. And he thought something that I hadn't heard from anybody else, and I think Barrett was really good with it, and on Bird's Huddle he was, too, the idea of he thought the team was lethargic. And I haven't heard anybody else call out the energy or the effort. And that's sort of what that is to me. They showed up, and I don't know if they thought, hey, lay our jockstraps on the field. We're good enough. We're gonna dominate this team. And maybe 16-0 was not in their favor.
Yeah, maybe I didn't convey it well enough yesterday, but I remember I was saying, come on, let's go. They just didn't have that
the energy, yes.
It didn't seem like they were playing on their toes. It was more flat-footed. It seemed like that extra push just wasn't there. It did seem. I think Barrett's perfectly right. And like I said, I guess I didn't convey it well, but I felt that way too. Like if I was a coach, and John, you've been there, and you're like, come on, guys, where are you? Let's go.
What's going on?
It just didn't seem there a lot. And maybe that was part of sometimes defenses or other teams, they do that to you. They just take out that, man, I want to be here, but they're already there. Or I want to do this, but they're denying me doing that. And, that could have been a part of it.
610-632-0975 if you want to share a thought with us. And you have your reaction to what you saw on Sunday. The one thing I will say is that my overwhelming takeaway now 36 hours later is Bill Belichick and Bill O'Brien outcoached Sean Desai and Brian Johnson. And I don't think that's a huge problem. I don't expect in his first game in the NFL calling plays, Brian Johnson has to go up against a chess master in Bill Belichick. I don't consider it a huge problem that he was outcoached on Sunday afternoon. I get it. Bill Belichick is going to toy with people like that. I'm not concerned. I think Bill O'Brien is one of the brighter offensive minds, and he's a marvelous play caller. To me, Bill O'Brien going up against Sean Desai, again, I don't consider it a major problem if you got outcoached. Now, if this becomes a pattern, and we're talking about it in December and January, I got a real issue with it. But right now, I understand.
Yeah,
I totally get it.
And if that's the scenario, okay, say that the defense or the offense got outcoached by Bill Belichick, you scored 25 points.
Yes.
We're asking for about 28 this year, so you're not far off. If you're going to say that New England's offense was pretty good under Bill O'Brien, they figured things out, okay, they still only scored 20 also.
You had one touchdown drive, though.
I mean,
and that 25 points, which really pisses me off.
So but that leads to the positiveness of it also.
Tyree in the Northeast joins us. Tyree, good morning. You're on the Fanatic. How are you, my brother?
Good morning, John.
What are you up to?
Bob.
Hey, Tyree.
I'm at work, but I agree with you guys. They did look lethargic, and I'll go back to 17 when they did remember when they had that interview, I think it was on Showtime, and they were talking to the offensive line, and Brandon Brooks was talking about getting back into training camp. He still feels sore from the year before. I think I knew they were going to be lethargic coming off of a Super Bowl because you kind of, not to make an excuse for it, but you go deeper, like a month and a half deeper than anybody's going. like I was just watching the Kelsey thing. I just caught it on Prime, and I was watching how he was saying he never had to do any of the stuff that he has to do now, like shocking his muscles and all that. And I think all that comes into the play. Like I've been saying to myself, and there's a lot that it's very hard to get back to a Super Bowl, especially after losing a Super Bowl. And
well, the Pats just did it a few years ago.
They did.
You know, back in the day, Buffalo did it 4 times in a row.
Yeah, listen, and it's
you know what I mean? I think it's based on the team.
Yeah, and also with how we look, I'll be one of those people who say I thought we were just going to go out there and win by double digits, and people fail to realize Bill Belichick really is a defensive mind.
Oh, he's so incredible.
Yeah, like watching that game, I had to say, you know what? I can't sit here and say anything. All right, we beat Belichick. We beat him in the Super Bowl and all that, but he still is Bill Belichick, and he just knows how to he tries to take away what you're good at. So that, and coupled with, I don't know, to me with the offensive coordinator, it seemed like he was being conservative. I don't know if that was because of the weather. I want to say it wasn't until the second, maybe third quarter when I actually seen us go down the field. And another thing you guys touched on earlier, the lack of use with DeAndre Swift just puzzles me. I don't understand why we have a dynamic back. Not saying he should be RB1, but I'm not understanding. I know it's early, and he has to get acclimated, and it's a lot of moving pieces, and we are, starting with 2 new coordinators, so things are going to be a little bit weird. But that just strikes me as odd, and I hope they figure that out. But, there's a lot of, like Bob said, there's always room for improvement.
Absolutely.
Win, I'll take the win, but we got to tighten it up.
Sure, absolutely.
Tyree, check in Friday morning and see if you have a different message for us, all right?
All right.
I will talk to you then. I'm anxious to see. I have a feeling that Friday morning we will all be going, whew. Okay, that feels good. Now you got 10 days off. We get it. We get another bye weekend. And, you get that extra bye weekend because of this. God,
I hate that we're going to go through 2 weekends without Eagles football. I told you, I can't
I don't
stand
like it either.
Waking up on Sundays during football season and not having an Eagles game.
Now, wait a minute, though.
I like
Pat,
prime time. Once it gets there, it's great. But no,
I'm going to call him on this, though, Pat, because Bob will be enjoying a Philly Sports Trips visit to Tampa.
Yeah.
One of those weekends where you don't have Eagles football.
Oh, I love it.
You're going to adore it.
Absolutely. And Pat and I will be having ice cream and singing and dancing.
I'll be sitting in Landview. But wondering where I'm not with you guys.
It's
all right.
Honestly, John, it's not that great.
It's not.
You're not going to miss much. You're going to miss Bob
Burns. How about Burns? Am I going to miss Burns? We'd be at Burns if I was gone. We would go to Burns.
I'm trying to make you feel better about the situation, but it's impossible with you. You're just bringing up all the good things that you were probably going to end up doing.
Yeah, it was just I love Clearwater Beach. Love that. It's going to be great. Philly Sports Trips. You guys will be broadcasting live down there. I'll be broadcasting live here. So I'm going to try to bring sand in.
I mean,
something.
Yeah, it
doesn't suck.
It doesn't suck, but it's
not as good as I'm making it out.
It's not as good as waking up in the city of Philadelphia
on game day.
I
don't know.
Trying to make you feel better, and I'm not.
I gotta say, it's
great.
not. You can put me in the nicest of places. If I wake up in the fall on a Sunday, I want the Eagles
want a game.
playing.
I get you.
I
get
do,
you.
yeah.
Because
I'll try to get by. Chunas and I apparently are going to huddle up to a bar and watch games all afternoon. I'll try to get by the best I can.
You're going to get by. You're going to struggle.
At some point, I'm going to have to say goodbye to my family because I think they're going to the airport. They might not be leaving till Monday. I'm not really sure which one. But, I guess I'll struggle through, John.
There's no games the next 2 weekends on Saturday or Sunday.
That.
And, Pat, I know what I'm going to get roped into if I'm feeling well enough. Well, why don't you get a little walk-in? We'll go out to Linville Orchards. Linville or something.
This is...
that's going to happen.
Is it Landville or Linville?
Linville.
Where do you live? Is it called Landville?
No, Landview is West Goshen. West
it is.
Goshen,
Okay. I didn't know that.
It's Landview, Pennsylvania.
I saw you put something on Twitter the other day, and I'm like, where the hell is Landview?
You don't have to rush out to Linville this weekend. Now you can obviously, but most seasons, the Eagles are playing at 1:00, pretty much every day, and you have to rush out to Linville
in the early morning,
the Thursday night game, or you have to rush out the bye week. And that causes it to be a madhouse. Like going the bye week is the worst time to go because it's like, every guy has convinced their wives or girlfriends like, oh, we'll just go during the bye week. And it causes a madhouse.
Well, this year the bye week is in November, so you're screwed.
Luckily, there's so many primetime games with the Birds that I think Lynn Villa will be open. But I wouldn't suggest going the first Sunday that they don't have it. Though.
See, I'm thinking this Saturday or Sunday, this Saturday before the Temple game, or this Sunday because it's a non-chemo week. So I'm figuring get in there, and I can get a blueberry pie before the summer's done.
You go blueberry?
Oh, I love blueberry pie.
No, we're doing the apple.
Betty died.
Blueberry.
She made me blueberry pie. Ugh. My mama made the best. And lives down at Temple, and
don't do blueberry.
She's not making me one. Oh, I love blueberries.
Do the apple.
By the way, they're
I like
great.
Apple and cherry pies.
You like cherry?
Oh.
Cherry's too sweet for me.
I don't do the cherry. I just
cherry.
strictly do the apple, but I always go there and get an apple. Apple cider donuts too are like a must.
Oh, we get them almost every week.
If I get them, I'll bring some in.
Don't because I'm trying to lose.
It's all right, Pat. We'll bring some in because your mom boycotted the show.
I know.
She no longer is part of our show, I guess. She's
in a contract dispute at the moment.
It's a contract dispute.
Yeah, she's talking to her representatives and trying to come to an agreement. It's getting pretty contentious.
Oh, I thought she was going to announce she was going somewhere or something.
She's holding out.
Okay, good. Hey, the New Jersey Transit Police Department reminds you we all need to work together to keep our transit system safe. Report suspicious activity to 888-TIPS-NJT or text your report to NJTPD.
Now, you guys know that we have a delay.
Yes.
So what we say, the people won't hear for about a minute.
Correct.
And as I shut my mic off, I got a text from
She's
my
on
mother.
her way?
No, don't get too excited. She just said, if you take the boys to Lynn Villa, I want to go with you.
Well, then you're in.
But no,
we
she's
do
not.
owe her
But she's not.
something.
No,
we do owe her
do we
something.
owe her?
We owe her
She's brought us in goodies an awful lot, and we haven't really done much for her except hugs and thank yous and an occasional
I think she's
kiss
afraid,
here and there.
Pat. I think she's anti-cancer. I think she's staying away. She's staying away because of my cancer. And I got to tell you, T-Dog, I thought you'd be right there with me.
Well,
with
she
goods.
just sent a follow-up text and said, "I'm baking tomorrow." For
look at that. We love you.
So we're back.
You're back
into it.
You're back in.
Yeah, it's like Chris Jones. She ended her holdout.
By the way, we talked about Ricky Batalico from The Best Show Ever.
I've heard of him.
Getting bit by a spider in his home over and over again. He keeps getting spider bites and waking up with them, but he can't find the spider.
Oh, jeez.
Well, Joe, my neighbor Joe, who is one of Egan's hockey buddies,
Oh, yeah, great
says that I absolutely jinxed it because he lives in our neighborhood and he's never had a bug in their new home, and I mentioned it yesterday. Well, he woke up this morning with a bite on his leg and found a spider on the floor next to his shorts. So Joe got bit by a spider.
Great job, bud.
Sorry, Joe. And he said,
Johnny.
He said Egan better be working in the off season, by the way, too. Working out.
I'm not.
Well, that's not good news.
The best part about men's league hockey is 3 weeks off season and you don't work.
So Pat wakes up with mosquito bites the other day.
Yeah.
Right. Ricky's got a spider.
Ricky's got a spider. Somebody just told you they got a
That's
spider.
Joe. He's got a spider in our neighborhood.
I'm walking into the Phillies game yesterday. Pat, I didn't tell you this story. Walking down therein with my friends, and I see Dan Roach, Booney, from NBC Sports Philly, the producer of The Best Show Ever. Boone, what's up? Handshake, the bro hug. I put my arm on his back. He must have had a bee on his back. Well,
at that same time.
The bee attaches to my arm and proceeds to sting me. So I'm like, oh, man. So I'm trying to smack it off. I haven't been stung by a bee in a little bit. This thing wouldn't get off.
Let me see your wrist again.
Yeah, it's a little swollen.
Okay, it looks a lot better now. It looked worse this morning. It's getting better.
Yeah, so this bee just wouldn't, Pat, I don't know if you've gotten stung lately. This bee wouldn't get the hell off. I'm like smacking. I'm like, Boone, sorry. Like it wouldn't get off of me. And then finally I got it off, and now I got the itchies from where it stung me.
You'll be like, put some of the lotion on.
I was going to ask Pat if he has anything for me because he's probably got some calamine lotion or something in there.
How about Tums?
Got Tums for you.
What's the thing you take when you get stung? Is it don't you take something so not to swell?
Preparation H.
No, what's the thing you take not to swell?
Birth control.
Birth control.
Well, that's
a pretty good one, John.
John, that was good.
Wow,
we're just going to end there.
Benadryl is what I was thinking of.
Yes. Benadryl.
I'm not coming up with a better response to birth control.
I'm impressed.
Not to swell.
Johnny.
Hey, the bounce back has been the signature move of Nick Sirianni, and it's one of the things that we talk about here is that again, trying to give you things to say today. Okay, we're 36 hours out. Now we can look at it a little bit differently. And let's look at the track record of Nick Sirianni, especially when last year, when he had this team that is currently constituted, pretty much pretty much the same type of club. What did he do after he had a really sort of subpar team effort at Detroit? They came out and dominated the Minnesota Vikings and won by 17. Then the next week, they won by another 16 points at Washington in a total domination. That game could have been 50-0. Then they played let's take it like another one where they're just the Houston game. They go out there, they're not playing that well. When they played again at home, they beat Green Bay, they beat Tennessee, they beat and popped up there, then Hurts is out. One thing we can know about Nick Sirianni, I think he's detail-oriented. And I think he's a guy that I rarely think we're complaining about his team since the first 7 games. Are we comparing his team and saying we're complaining about the same things the next week? It might be something different we complain about, but his teams, the bounce back seems to be pretty strong. And that speaks to a good veteran locker room. That speaks to a leader in Nick Sirianni. He's got to get some of that credit. But to me, I'm very shocked that around, 2 days from kickoff, I'm not really concerned that the Eagles bounce back Thursday night because Nick Sirianni has gained that trust. And in the trust tree, I believe in him. And I believe he's going to have his team better prepared.
If you're going off of last year, yes. That's what you would assume, and there hasn't been a lot of turnaround on this team, although the defense has the question marks that we've talked about. But each year is different. I hope so. I hope what you're saying and the talent that this team has assembled on the roster makes me believe, yes, they should win this game and they should win it handily and all. But we've seen seasons, and you just correctly pointed out last season, John, about games that were close, that maybe they shouldn't have won, that they pulled out. That was the theme to the season. I don't know. Does the theme this year go the way of game 1 where they didn't look good, but they kind of pulled out a win and this and that? I don't know. We'll see. I would lean towards what you're saying, that they'll bounce back and have a better game.
He's won me over, Pat, in a little over 2 years. That I trust his team is going to be ready to go. They're going to be ready to play.
Same, and a big part of it is what happened last year. I had questions going into week 2. Same opponent, the Vikings. And they answered the bell and then some and seemed to right the ship from the week 1 questions that we had. But Nick Sirianni seemed to, if there's one thing I can say about the guy, it's he looks to address problems and doesn't just simply sit back and go, no, my way will work, my way will work. He actually does a lot of self-reflecting, it seems like, and actively looks to go, okay, this didn't work. I thought it would work. It didn't. Let's find something else. And he doesn't just sit back and wait, which is, I think, a downfall of a lot of coaches.
I love, too, is that I don't believe he's afraid of anything. And he talked about conviction after the game. And we played some of that for you on Monday morning. I believe he is a man of conviction. And sometimes I think he's a man of conviction too much. Yeah. But I would rather have a leader that has too much conviction than too little. I would rather have a leader who is pushes his chips on the table and is aggressive and believes in what he's doing more than one who's tentative. So Nick Sirianni, he's got my belief until he proves otherwise.
Yeah, if what he's doing is right. I totally disagreed with him the other day saying, with conviction, we go for it on 4th and 2. That's what we do. Okay, like I said yesterday, sometimes you have to step out of yourself and what your conviction is about yourself, your team, your assistant coaches, and you have to step out and just do what the right thing is.
And that is what
he did was not the right thing, in my opinion.
And he doubled. The one thing is I don't believe in hearing the post-game press conference and everything like that. I don't believe he doubled down on. I think he actually acknowledged to us that maybe going for it on 4th and 2. That he understood why people would be critical of it. And to me, that's all I ask. That's all I ask.
It's not me.
No, but I mean, I don't want him to do it again. But I admire someone who can say, who's a leader, who makes a decision, highly controversial, and doesn't just double down with, well, you people don't know. Doug Peterson had a tendency to do look, I played quarterback in this league. I've coached in a Super Bowl. I've done to bring up the resume and be like, look, I know you're questioning me, but let me tell you what I've done. Nick Sirianni doesn't do that crap.
I don't care about the explanation. It was the wrong football decision.
It was.
I don't care if it was Doug Peterson coming out and saying I was a football guy, or if it's Nick Sirianni coming out and saying, no, I have conviction and this is what I do. And I don't care that people say to me, oh, if they would have got it, Bob, don't tell me you wouldn't have hated the decision. I hated the decision. Yes, if they would have gotten it, sure, it would have been great for the football team. I still would have said it was the wrong decision. I still didn't like it at that time and place to give the other team the football on the 44-yard line. It's just not smart sports to me. It's just not.
It doesn't make any sense. I mean, it is one of those things. But Pat, do you sort of get what I'm saying there? Like, I don't think he doubled down with an arrogance. I really don't.
I don't think so either. You know, you had Doug Peterson get a little chesty after winning the Super Bowl, understandably so.
Right.
But in terms of press conferences and whatnot, he would get a little uppity at some of the questions. I don't think Nick Sirianni is that type of guy. Then again, he hasn't won a Super Bowl yet.
Not yet.
Super Bowls will change you. But
Right.
I don't get the sense of he's going to be a guy that is, you know, impervious of getting questioned about what he did in this situation. I think he knows. Like, I think the 4th and 2, he knew. Good or bad, I'm going to get questioned about this call. Because as Bob laid out, and I was the same way, it didn't matter if they converted it or not. I thought it was a dumb move at the time. And I think in the moment he thought, okay, well, I'll get questioned about it, but if it works out, you know, the questions won't be nearly as loud. And I think he's cool with that.
I think so. Yeah, I think it's what I'm saying is there's a swagger. There's a swagger, there's a confidence, and he's been winning.
Well,
and as long as he wins, the swagger and the confidence, I'm all for it.
I think they go hand in hand, though. I think his openness is part of the swagger. You know, I think you can have a certain type of swagger because you can take the criticism.
Okay.
It's one
That's
thing.
fair,
It's
that's
one
fair,
thing
yeah.
to walk around with so much swagger, but if you get upset over the littlest, tiniest questions of criticism about anything you do, it's really tough to go, oh man, that guy's the man. It's like,
He'll
no,
get more
you got to be open to criticism. I mean, you guys know I'm a huge MMA fan. Like, Conor McGregor is the definition of swagger in the sport. But when he loses, he does so with grace and humility, and it leads toward like a fan base that goes, okay, like this guy's human. Like you can do both, and I think for Nick Sirianni, swagger and the humility and being open to criticism, it goes one and the same.
There is there's plenty of skepticism out there. Am I talking about our football team or our baseball team? We'll get to that and more coming up. John Kincade Show here on 97.5, The Fanatic. Look, the cold weather's coming. Whether you want it or not, Bob's in mourning. But I can tell you it's
to the John Kincade Show on 97.5 The Fanatic, Philadelphia.
I know where Pat will be. Temple football. Home game is the Owls battle Norfolk State this Saturday at 2 p.m. From what state are they from, Norfolk State?
I would guess Maryland.
I'm guessing Virginia.
Is it Virginia? I just
Virginia.
go off Norfolk Tides or the AAA affiliate of the Orioles, so that was a total guess.
Then the Miami Hurricanes on September 23rd. Haven't announced a game time yet on that one. Both games at Lincoln Financial Field. Kids tickets on game days as low as $10. Visit owlstix.com. Hopefully that will be a big game.
Oh, it'll be a really, really good crowd, I would assume.
I would hope so.
A lot of Miami contingent. They're a popular team.
They are. They just
playing good football.
They don't fill their own stadium though.
No, isn't their own stadium though a dump?
I mean,
I've never been.
I've been there. I've been there. In fact, we went to the opening game in that stadium.
Isn't it like off campus and?
Oh yeah, it's
like
way off.
I think if you're down there, and it's kind of what we were talking about earlier with like the Northeast sports fan. There's so many distractions down there that if the team isn't in contention for a national championship, they're probably not drawing.
They play where the Dolphins play.
But the lore of Miami football, it probably has a lot of transplants that when they travel, those transplants come out. And I think because of that, you'll have the link relatively well attended that day.
Let's hope that we can get that. That would be great. So that would be a fine thing. I do ask this about the Phillies. I don't understand with all the, and I know it's again, and I had to go reading on it last night. It goes to analytics. Analytics doesn't value defense the way that old school baseball people do. So put me in the old school baseball category then, because I do value defense, and I have no idea why this team doesn't. I found something crazy though. Here's a stat for you. Trey Turner. We may need another standing ovation for him. For his fielding. The top three other shortstops that were on the market this offseason, Bogarts, Correa, and Swanson. Those three have a collective 20 errors. And Trey Turner has 18. It's a part of this that has to change big time. Trey Turner has 18. Swanson, Correa, and Bogarts collectively have 20. I mean, that's crazy to me. That is a really damning number on this defense. And by the way, he's young. He's supposed to be had some real quality years yet. He is declining in the field. And
he's had a bad year in the field. I don't know if he's declining in the field.
Well, last 2 years he's had his biggest. He's on a trend. It's a 3-year trend of errors.
Yeah, I don't know if the Phillies don't value defense. Everybody wants to play good defense. I don't think they went out and got Trey Turner and said, "Oh, defense be damned. We just want his bat," because Trey Turner came here as an above-average fielder.
What about your center fielders?
What about them?
Are they playing the best defensive center fielders? Are they playing the best defensive outfield, or are they not? They're not. They're playing Christian Pache above playing a guy who is a absolute force in center field defensively. They're making that choice to do that.
He's supposed to be a great defensive fielder. You guys have told me that.
No, I think he's very good, and he's better than Marsh. How about that? He's better than Marsh. But you continue to play Marsh. Instead of moving Marsh over. It's to me, this team doesn't show enough dedication to defense. And I think that's something that's got to change.
Well, I think it's hindered by Bryce Harper. He can't play first base every day, so therefore you have to put Kyle Schwarber out in left field, who might be one of the worst outfielders in all of baseball.
So,
go ahead.
I'm sorry to cut you off. Why can't he play first base every day? He played right field every day.
Apparently, the back is an issue this year playing first base.
That's fair. And I was asking honestly.
And I know I think it's a good question to ask because.
So I in that situation, I would rather have Harper DH, Bohm at first, Sosa at third, Schwarber in left, Rojas in center.
I would absolutely, and I agree with your assessment.
My ideal lineup is Harper at first base, Bohm at third base, Schwarber DHs, Marsh in left field, Rojas in center. But the idea of having Jake Cave out there annoys the hell out of me. Christian Pache, I understand the struggles with the bat, but he plays elite defense.
Two center fielders, by the way, have more errors than had the same amount of errors, by the way, as they're at the bottom. But only two have more errors than Brandon Marsh.
I didn't think Brandon Marsh, the Jake Cave error that he had well, I don't know if it was called an error, but in the first inning, he took the brunt of the blame for that, understandably so. I thought Marsh took a horrible route to the ball, though.
He did, and they called that out. They did call that out.
Like, it was rough. And his routes aren't great in center field.
Put him in left field. He's fine.
And that's the frustration thing is I think they have a really good defensive front of outfielders, and they just don't know how to use them.
And it comes back to, what is this team? It's supposed to be a mashing team. You're not going to tell me having Johan Rojas and Brandon Marsh using up two of your outfield positions, as good as defensively as it is.
Right.
And as I've said, I would take Christian Pache and throw him away and just let Rojas have all of those things. But if you do those light-hitting guys in left and center field, it just doesn't go to what your team was built to do, really. I mean, I talked about it at the trade deadline. Like, maybe you should have looked ahead. If you think Rojas is a future here, maybe you should have looked ahead and I don't know, what are you going to do with Marsh?
How could you maybe have improved your bullpen, which you ignored? You ignored fixing the bullpen and supplementing a bullpen that your manager broke the wheels off of by June. They were just he's overworking guys, and whether they had success,
I think he overworks individuals. I don't think he's overworked the bullpen. The starters have the fourth most innings in all of baseball. The Phillies do. I think it's individually.
I'd have to dive in. Like, I've seen Greg Soto a ton this season.
Too much. I said individually. Yeah,
individually. But those individuals, it seems like I could name 5 individuals that I go, they've probably been overworked. Like, Kimball's not one of them, but Dominguez, Soto, you could go Strom if you want to.
Now, injuries probably played a part. But when you say starters fourth most innings, we can't say that he's going to the bullpen too much. Maybe individuals I didn't have to say,
because if he uses 4 guys and 5 guys a night, like he does frequently, you can say he's going too often. If he's going to the bullpen,
you have to use somebody.
But if he's going to the bullpen and he's using 2 guys, that's different. When you're using 4 and 5, I mean, he's mix and match. And
if I use 2 guys, they're going 2 innings each or an inning and a half each. If I use 4 guys and they're going, a third of it, whatever it is, I mean, the truth has to be there. The bullpen has been used the 4th least in all of baseball. So I agree with you.
What are the results right now of that?
What more can you do, though?
I mean, I don't know.
I understand what Bob's
I understand what you're saying.
It's weird. It's like what this numbers say. My eyes are telling me another thing.
Correct.
And maybe it's just because you notice the bullpen being used more when they're not performing. Guys like Greg Soto have not performed this season. He's been bad. Sir Anthony Dominguez can't get through a clean inning. Matt Strom recently seems like every other game he's coming into, he's giving up runs. Connor brought up something really interesting when you guys were out, and I hadn't thought of it, but it's how to kind of fix the bullpen. And
okay.
I think that the way that Dave Dombrowski looks at it, because he told Jason Stark on Jason Stark's podcast, which is very good, by the way.
Really good
is
stuff.
When they acquired Michael Lorenzen, it wasn't looked at as a starter for the playoffs. It was looked at as another arm in the bullpen, but a guy that you can throw in to start games during the regular season. When you go to a 4-man rotation, Lorenzen goes into the bullpen. You figure Christopher Sanchez will also go into the bullpen. So you're adding 2 arms that you can, I use this term loosely, count on in the postseason to pitch out of the pen that might give some of these guys relief. My issue with that is we don't know how Michael Lorenzen is going to react to playing an entire season as a starter and going back to the bullpen. We saw Brett Myers react poorly to that before. And we don't know how Christopher Sanchez is going to react.
Lorenzen reacted really poorly last night. I mean,
he's been bad recently.
And
his last 3 or 4 starts have not been good.
And it's in his head. The temper tantrum when he gave up the home run when he came into the dugout. I'm like, okay. His mind isn't in it.
I can't blame him for that. I've had a few of those on the old bench.
When I see Aaron Nola, when I see Zach Wheeler after a bad inning, everything, I don't see the unglued. I don't want my pitcher unglued.
I don't mind it necessarily because you're going to have probably 10 minutes to calm down. I like to see a little fire and guys pissed off. I'm pissed off. So I don't mind that, but I understand what you're saying. You want to see the calm demeanor. But in that situation, it's like damned if you do, damned if you don't. Like, I don't want you to give up a home run to that point.
Yeah.
But if you're walking off calm, I'm pissed off because you're not as pissed off as I am.
You don't care.
Exactly.
It's such a what have you done lately for me. So I went back last week and looked at stories. John, I took a page out of your book.
Okay.
Looked at stories at the All-Star break where they gave the All-Star break. Here's the report card.
Right.
the bullpen got A's and A's pluses all across, like 4 or 5 stories. Now, that was at the All-Star break. They pitched that well early in the season. Now they've been crap since. We talk about the month of when the starting pitchers were just phenomenal, a 2.4 ERA. And then all of a sudden, that just went by the wayside. It's like Trey Turner. Who was he at the beginning of the season? Who is he now? Like, it's just crazy. And the most frustrating thing, and I think where we get it all from, is when the highs are high, man, they're good. And when the lows are low, you get games kind of like yesterday and lose 7 out of 11 or whatever it may be. And it's been a roller coaster of a year.
It really has.
A lot of it is inexplicable.
More importantly, John Middleton did not spend all the money he spent for the Phillies to be 18 games to go in the season behind last year's record. He didn't. And if you spin it any other way, you're wrong. He did not sit there in a room and go, he's going, wait a minute, I'm going to spend on Trey Turner. I'm going to get another pitcher for the rotation. I'm going to get a guy for the bullpen. I'm going to spend money. Oh, yeah, but I'm fine with the team putzing through the regular season and not being in the race. John Middleton doesn't think that. No matter
I don't think anybody thinks
there's that. They're fine with it. They seem fine with it very much like there's no urgency. Absolutely none with this team.
You can't help that another team is 45 games over 500.
You can worry about urgency. And when you have your starting pitchers, 2 of them have spoken out and said, I want to pitch every 5th day. But the manager thinks differently. I mean, at some point, I admire the player saying, give me the damn ball.
Okay.
I want it. And I admire the players wanting the ball.
And Rob Thompson's going to go back on. Yeah, I hear it. And Rob Thompson's going to go back on. Well, I rested the ace last year and had him ready to get us to the World Series.
Yeah, I think it was.
I hear you. It's the yin and the yang. It's the ups and the downs. Like this is the one of the most. I wrote a story last week. The Bends. This is one of the most seasons that gives you like the.
But Rob Thompson also pulls out. Pat, sorry to interrupt. Pulls out Zach Wheeler in the last game of the year when he has 6 months to rest. He pulls him out of a game
none of us
inexplicably.
agreed with
that. His pull-out game is 100.
So he's worried about getting a guy rest for the biggest games of the year, but then in the biggest opportunities of the year, he says, I don't trust Zach Wheeler. Let me take him out of a game. And by the way, Zach Wheeler made a comment after last start about last year and decisions that were made.
I mean, it might be a situation where the decision last year was over Rob Thompson's head, or either that or he just didn't like the fact that they had to go to the second to last game to clinch, so he's not willing to do that again, or Zach Wheeler feels better this season. I mean, there's different situations. He's in a tough spot, right? In the sense of, like last night's a prime example. It's the second game, and T-Mac was saying, I don't know who they go to in the 8th inning here. It could be Sham, and I went, oh, God, no. And then they said, or it could be Marte. And I went, oh, God, no.
I had the exact same reaction, Pat.
And it's like they're kind of screwed with who they have because
they didn't supplement it at the trade deadline.
They didn't add a veteran arm. I mean, Bilotti was optioned down and bring up Marte.
They got like 4 center fielders, 4 first basemen.
Yeah,
that's great.
They could use another. I mean, thank God they found Hoffman. Honestly, he's a waiver pickup who's been really, really good and strong for the team. But if they didn't have him, I don't know what they would have done. But they look at it as we did upgrade our bullpen because we got Lorenzen, and when the games matter most, we're going to throw him in there for an inning, and he'll hopefully be able to get the job done.
Bob says that in regards to the Birds, there are some people talking some smack, and he's not going to stand for it.
Now, let's see what's in Cooney's corner.
Well, everybody can say what they want to say, and that's okay. But I saw a national guy yesterday say, oh, there it is. Jalen Hurts, sure enough, can't read a defense. Okay, I know we're in a hot take society and all that stuff. Whatever. There it is. Anybody notice his arm strength isn't there this year? It's not there this year. Not like it was last year. It's not throwing the deep ball. Really? I mean, that's the takes you're going to take away from that first game against a Bill Belichick defense that I think was more than prepared to face that Eagles offense and took away not 1, not 2, but maybe 3 heads of snakes. Like, they had a great game. I thought New England had a great defensive game, and it was further I shouldn't even say that I came to that conclusion after listening to A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith say, I don't know what they were doing, but it was unbelievable. We couldn't get a thing done. Like, I don't know that you can go on these hot takes right away. Like, stop. I'm kind of begging people. Watch a few games first before you decide what the 22-23 Eagles are. Oh, wait, what are we? 23. 23-24 Eagles are. Like, yeah, it just drives me nuts that it goes right to defense coordinators suck. Jalen Hurts doesn't have it anymore. They don't know how to use DeAndre Swift. I hate to be the kind of back off and relax kind of guy, but back off and relax a little bit. It's just, it was one game in the rain against a defensive genius.
Both teams played in the rain, though.
Yeah, but it was, a sloppy game, whatever. It kind of hinders you a little bit. I think Thursday is a good test. Thursday is is this team taking a little bit of a step back, or are they the team we thought they were? That's hard to say after just a couple of days of preparation. Now, let's not be fooled. There's no way they didn't have 5 or 6 books on the Minnesota Vikings long before they even played the New England Patriots. So they're going to be prepared for that. But physically, whatever. Give it a couple of games. Give it a few games at least. Yeah, and look, it could be right. I'm not saying stop saying Jalen Hurts doesn't have the arm strength anymore, because maybe he doesn't. Maybe he'll show this year that his arm strength is gone. Maybe this year we will question after 10 games like, my God, is he reading the field okay? But please, not after one game.
Yes, and against a matchup. There is one thing that I watch for, and we talked about it ad nauseum this morning. I believe that the coordinators were out-coached. Now I have to wonder, Kevin O'Connell, is he going to be able to pull that off on Thursday night? Is he going to be a better play caller? Better offensive mind. He is off that Sean McVay tree, and he's supposedly pretty creative. Is he going to be better and able to win that matchup again? That'll start to concern me. The out-coaching will start to concern me.
Yeah, it's funny. People on here, what do you mean they were out-coached? They won the game. You're right. They won the game. Sometimes talent wins you a game.
Yes.
Sometimes there are other factors.
They were completely
I've
out-coached.
seen many, many games where I was more impressed with the losing coach than I was the winning coach.
By the way, Brian Flores is the defensive coordinator.
Yeah.
Brian Flores is going to have the what for, and it's going to be something to watch for.
The offensive line has to be on their toes and ready to go.
And also, too, is that we have to see if Brian is going to this time bring a better offensive game plan and not lose the running back.
You can't lose the running. You can't lose the tight end and the running back.
No, you can't.
He didn't just take out one part of their offense. He took out 2, and he took an offense. It's pretty impressive when you think about it, that we all looked at as probably the best offense in football because they can come at you in different ways, and he neutered them. On the flip side, you had Sean Desai do the same thing with a defense that had 70 sacks. Both these coordinators completely failed over the weekend. And I don't know if they were just arrogant, cocky. But my big fear is they couldn't adapt. And they couldn't change up the game plan. That was what you hear about from Jonathan Gannon, detractors, is he didn't change up the game plan. Well, Brian Johnson seemed like he didn't change up the game plan at all, because it was evident to everybody that watched the game that DeAndre Swift was not involved, and neither was Dallas Goedert. And in the second half, you come out and you do the same exact thing. You're running Kenny Gainwell nonstop. You're doing these dink and dunk drops. The protection was bad. They need to adapt. They need to shore it up and adapt.
This running game, and the way they use it, I have a feeling in the back of my mind, and this is just me, is going to bother me more than it's not. You went 14-1 Kenny Gainwell rushes to your second back. 14-1. I'm sorry, but Kenny Gainwell to me is not your number. He's not a number one back.
Okay, what did you think that first drive, though?
Yeah, it was fine. It was a good first drive.
I thought it was amazing.
I thought it was too much Kenny Gainwell.
Too much?
Yeah,
it was working.
What if you put Boston Scott in there and he did the same thing? Does that mean Boston Scott's your number one back?
He got 5 yards a carry on 6 carries and 7 yards a reception on 2 receptions.
I'm saying it worked. It worked. But in the moment, every time they handed the ball off, I'm like, damn, again? I
think they thought that the rain was coming to an end soon, and they'd be able to pass. That's all I can think of. Because they said they were monitoring the weather. So
I thought it was very similar, and we know that they scripted these plays out before the game. What I was surprised at, though, was this isn't a running back room with a number one back. It's a running back by committee, and what I was surprised at was that it was not that. It was a number one back, if you will, because there was only one guy really getting the bulk of the carries, and I just don't think he's a number one back. You can't argue with the results of that first drive, John, to your point.
Right.
I just was surprised that in today's day and age of football, when you go out and you get DeAndre Swift, you didn't mix him in at all.
Well, the thing is, too, I think you have to have DeAndre Swift on the field, 2nd and 5s, 3rd and 5s, 3rd and 4s, where you don't know what you're going to do with them.
Yeah, and I think that's their game plan.
And you weren't in a lot of those.
No, it was their game plan.
And that does hurt you.
Talking to Zach Berman and everybody, Jeff McClain and Tim McManus, when we did talk to them preseason and just on the First Friday show, Mosher pointed it out. I think first down is going to be this. I think second down in this situation is going to be that. He laid out how he thought they were going to use the running backs. They didn't do that on Sunday.
No.
They just didn't do it.
I mean, it does seem a little ridiculous because that first drive, it did work. It's kind of like complaining about, going to Disney World and you complain about how long the flight took.
Or the churros.
I mean, all you care about is getting to Disney World.
Or stale
and you're complaining
churros.
about how you got there. Is it stale? You don't like the churros?
Sometimes they're stale.
I think it's an overrated Disney World item.
Yeah, I do too.
I put it down in the pecking order, but it smells great every time.
Dole Whip, number one overrated.
Not a Dole Whip guy.
You got to be into the pineapple.
Yeah, I'm not a pineapple
Bob
guy.
likes pineapple.
I like upside down
I love
pineapples.
pineapple.
He loves pineapple.
I would eat
great.
pineapple every day of the week. Yeah,
Bob
I
would
love
like
pineapple.
the Dole Whip. You probably had the Dole Whip many times.
What's
haven't
the
you?
Dole Whip?
The Dole Whip's the vanilla ice cream and a pineapple.
It's pineapple.
Yeah.
It's pineapple vanilla ice cream
Yeah.
Oh, I don't
at
think I
Disney.
have.
Oh my gosh!
It's near the Jungle
I don't
Cruise.
think-
Yeah, it's right near the Jungle.
I'll tell you, there's a like a skewer place near the Jungle Cruise. Phenomenal.
A skewer. So you
Yeah,
like
it's
meat?
it's like meat on a stick, but it's
Oh.
delicious.
I like meat on a stick.
Who
That's
doesn't,
good.
right?
That's
Who
fine,
doesn't?
right?
We're
Man,
gotta
my-
have that.
My
we
brother
do.
used to live in Queens, New York, and we would be walking home probably, after the bars closed, let's say.
Get the rat on the stick.
Oh, my
Kebab?
God. But it was so delicious. Now I think about it and it grosses me out, but oh, my God, we got the kebabs all the
Oh,
time.
the kebabs are amazing.
Yeah, it's
From
great.
some of those street vendors.
Oh, yeah.
And now you wonder what you're eating.
Yeah,
but it's delicious.
Not
No,
at 2 o'clock in the morning.
That's the thing. I don't want to know what I'm eating.
I didn't care what I was eating.
They've sauced it in at that point, so they've made it a little bit better. So we have a lot coming up for you, including the roster building of the Eagles. When is it okay to question it? How long? What's the line of demarcation there? Plus a new rule proposal in the NBA that may or may not affect the Sixers. We'll get to it next. John Kincade Show here on 97.5 The Fanatic.
Media Group Station. Official home of the Sixers, Flyers, Union, and the best Eagles talk in Philadelphia. 97.5 The Fanatic. Now, back to the John Kincade Show on 97.5 The Fanatic, Philadelphia.
You know, you may not always need a new water heater, but when you do, choose Bradford White. Bradford White's here for the pro, and you only get a Bradford White from a plumbing installation professional. You're not just going into a big box store and going and trying to put it in yourself. I love our Bradford White. You love your Bradford White too, Bobby.
Oh, it's awesome. Absolutely.
Which is great to be able to have that hot water on demand whenever you need it.
Not have to worry about it since we just got ours a few months ago. So I got like 10 years of easy living.
That's always nice. Easy living with the hot water. So it's good. And we thank Bradford White for their fine sponsorship of the show. We talked yesterday about the fact that there should be a moratorium on making like hot take big predictions on whatever's going on with the Eagles. That don't go over the top with the Phillies. Give them time. Connor, with 18 games to go this morning, is still preaching that same gospel of, well, it can happen. You know, we got time. There's 18 games left. It's 18 freaking games. We haven't even talked about the basketball team in town, which has got some real issues going on. We've been very quiet on the Western Front there. But Pat has something about an NBA rule change that may affect the Sixers' chances overall.
This is Pat's point of view. Here's Pat.
Hi, guys.
What's up, Pat?
So what do you define as a superstar in the NBA? What's your definition of that? I know Bob loves this.
Jamie and I and Pat used to get, we all got into.
Yeah.
Jamie gave out like 15, 20 superstars. I keep it a superstar is LeBron James.
What about just a star player?
A star player?
Yeah.
Joel
There's
Embiid.
a lot of them.
Joel Embiid's a star player.
I think doesn't matter. That's
You might have one or two
He's
on
not a
each team as
superstar.
far as
Because
Because if you tell me that LeBron James is a superstar,
I think Joel's a superstar. Whatever.
Wow.
That's not the argument.
Wow.
The NBA has defined what it means to be a star in the NBA.
really?
Is many league discussions over the past 1 to 2 years have centered around stars playing more, and they've decided that a star in the league is somebody who's made the All-Star game in the past 3 years. That's a star. The reason this matters is because according to Shams Charania, the NBA Board of Governors is expected to vote this week on a new policy that a team is unable to rest 2 star players in the same game. And this will hopefully limit the amount of rest that is currently going on around the NBA, where you got fans paying money to go see players, and you've got James Harden and Joel Embiid sitting. So that's what they've defined as a star. That's, I think, fair, right? Star, you've made the All-Star game the past 3 years. Okay, fine.
Wow.
Have no problem with that. But this does affect the Sixers because this is a team that will actively look to sit a Joel Embiid. What I don't mind, though, is it's 2 stars. It's not 1. So you can sit a Joel Embiid. If you don't have another All-Star, whatever. But it's trying to stop, like, the Lakers from doing this. You got Anthony Davis, LeBron James, and everybody and their mother trying to join the Lakers. But it's interesting. It will probably hinder, as I said, the Sixers in a way. But then again, I mean, will it? Because if James Harden doesn't come back, they don't have to worry about it. It's an interesting solution, and it's one that I actually like in the NBA, even though it might end up hurting my team.
I got to tell you, I don't want to sound like old guy yelling at the clouds, old guy calling you up and telling you to move your basketball court off of the street.
There are some of those out there.
I can't believe it's come to this. Like, it's just so weird that it's come to the league has to get involved as to telling you who to play in order for the fans to be happy. I understand it, but it goes to I can't believe you're not playing your star players to try to win every game. I understand it, and it sucks, and it's old school of me to be like, back in the day, they played every game every year and all that stuff. But, God, this now you're forcing guys. Think about this. You're forcing guys to go to work.
Well, can I ask you, Pat, on your guidelines?
Yeah.
Zion Williamson's a star?
According to this, because he made the All-Star game or All-NBA.
Pascal Siakam.
I mean, look, Zion is a star in the league.
In college, he was a star.
But because of that, it carried over to the NBA.
Pascal Siakam's a star?
Yeah.
I mean, these are by these rules, I think the rules are ridiculous.
I mean, we're going with superstar. I think you're melding superstar to star. Star in the NBA, absolutely.
Like I think
he's one of the best players in the league.
I think Joel is a star player in the NBA, not a superstar.
The names that you mentioned, Siakam. Like, I'd be thrilled if the Sixers got Siakam.
Is Tyrese Halliburton a star player in the NBA?
I think so. Yeah, the Sixers would be thrilled to get him. Like, that's the way I'm looking at it. If we, as a fan base, had gotten Tyrese Halliburton, Zion, or Pascal Siakam, no one's calling up like mad about that. You're pumped. Now, when the initial trade went down with James Harden, Tyrese Halliburton probably wasn't, but he's developed into, a star in the NBA. He's an all-star.
I think there's too many stars. Like, I think the All-Star game thing is honestly sort of ridiculous.
All right, how would you, if they came to you and they said, okay, we are implementing a rule that you cannot sit two of your better players on the same night, barring injury, whatever, how would you go about it? How would you outline that new rule?
Well, what I would try to do is I would try to work out a plan that gives, if I feel my star player needs rest, then I try to work out a plan where, okay, you get we're on a road trip. We play Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday. You get Tuesday, you get Thursday. You both play Saturday.
But if you're the NBA, how do you give the rules to the team?
Oh, I don't say NBA All-Star should not.
So how would you propose it?
I would say is two of your starting players.
Starting
players. I think you're starters. And your
starters change every night.
Yeah, but they're still
Commissioner,
defined.
my starters change every night.
Yeah, but they're defined. You'll see a guy. No, the stars in the league, if you're talking about a star player, they start almost every game.
Think about it.
They never come off the bench. If they're playing, they start.
This is defined as somebody who's made the All-Star team the past 3 years.
Like Fred VanVleet?
Fred VanVleet,
star?
yes. I mean, look, if you're an All-Star, the second word of that is star.
Wow, I mean, I just the one thing is,
Fred VanVleet not
if
a star?
I call somebody if I call somebody a star, I can't. Then the other person, I have to hold them in the same regard. They have the same title. I can't Zach LaVine is not a star player to me. He's just not. Darius Garland is not a star player to me.
I don't think we're just gonna have to agree to disagree on it because I view it differently.
Like,
but
you
once
like
again,
the rule, though.
You like the rule or not?
I do like the rule. Yeah, I do. I mean, and to your point, Bob, forcing people to go work. That's the problem with this young generation, Bobby.
You said it. That was Pat Egan that said that before I start getting
like
crap.
me and you. We remember the greatest generation. You didn't have to beg the greatest generation to go to war. They volunteered.
Bob,
but it is kind of weird. Like, just think about that on surface, and I don't care what age you are.
Kidding, by the way, for anyone offended.
No, but seriously, think about that. Nah, I was going to give you this night off. NBA says we can't, so you gotta play. Now we're talking about playing basketball.
Well, and also keep in mind there are ways around this.
Oh,
okay?
sure.
Oh, Joel Embiid, we have to play you. Okay, get out there for 3 minutes. Have fun.
Or Joel Embiid. He came up a little lame in practice today. So now you're on the injury report.
Yeah, jump
but
ball,
you'll be
strain
back
the
on
calf.
Thursday. You'll be back on Thursday.
They're
going to connive their way around this.
There's only so far that Adam Silver can go, but he will medal. Nobody knows that more than Sixers fans. Adam Silver will absolutely medal.
Here's what I'd suggest, Adam Silver. Stop letting teams manipulate ticket game prices by the opponent coming in. When teams do not respect the fans enough to play their best players like they did forever. For ad infinitum. We're supposed to be in the best era. We're supposed to be in the era of the most toned athletes, the most attuned with their bodies, the most best food in their systems, best everything. And now these guys need more rest than anybody. Makes no sense. It makes absolutely no sense.
I agree with you. I remember one of our columnists back when I was working at the Daily News. God, we're talking over 20 years ago. That wrote a story about how long tossing for major league pitchers is going to kill what we know of starting pitching in baseball.
Yep.
And it led right to, it's going to come to these guys aren't going to be able to pitch innings. They're not going to be able to throw more than 100 pitches. They're building them up wrong compared to the way guys were built right. It was an old man sitting and yelling at the clouds.
And he was right.
Kinda.
No, not kinda. He's right. because now a mentality is just taken over, and where it doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
Because these are better athletes today, younger, stronger, better trained, everything going for them.
Oh, I wonder how much of it is the athlete not wanting to quote go to work, or is it an abundance of caution by the GMs, ownership, coaches? Like, I don't think that Joel Embiid ideally wanted to sit out for 2 years. But
well, no, what the Sixers did.
By the way, and we know that he didn't want to be on the minutes restriction that he was. Like, I vividly remember Joel Embiid getting pissed off in a game that they could have beaten, I believe, Indiana, and he was on a minutes restriction.
Yeah.
And he was livid on the bench because they were sticking to their minutes restriction, and they ended up losing the game, and he was pissed off. So I wonder how much of it is the notion of, oh, it's the younger player. I don't think it's that. I really do think it's just the culture of the NBA that's been built by GMs, ownership, and
Yep.
coaches.
I mean,
Good stuff there.
as far as it goes with baseball or basketball, I'm sorry, you got kids that are coming up. They play AAU. You're playing 2 and 3 times a day, 4 games in a weekend. Where does that all of a sudden translate into? No, now you're in the NBA. You can't play 80 games. I know it's a build-up thing, but
It's all about the ownership trying to save their financial investments. That's what this is.
yeah, it could be.
They're giving tons of money out, and they're afraid that the money's going to end up being wasted on a guy who gets injured. And that, Bob, if you could ever find that column or that piece that the guy wrote, I'd love to read that. Because in context, it would be amazing to look at today's sports. I just think that the fans are, honestly, I think fans are totally disrespected today by sports franchises. I think they don't get treated the same way that they did. And, like, to me, the way the NBA just keeps stars out of the, we're not going to play tonight. You bought these tickets to this most anticipated game of the year, and, yeah, the top 2 stars, they're healthy, but they're getting a night off to rest. I think it's just total disrespect to the fan bases. But
it's a good point.
It's a different era. And 9 o'clock hour is brought to you by the Bagster. It's a dumpster in a bag. Get yours today at Home Depot and Lowe's. And for details, go to Bagster.com. I promise you, if I can set up a Bagster, you can. That's all I know. I was able to set up a Bagster. So if I can, you can.
When'd you do that?
Easy
I don't know
Bagster.
if I could do it.
Sure you could.
I'd need help. My wife's good at that stuff. I'm not good. So the two
What
of
if
us could
what
do
if
it.
I told you?
Or she could do it by
What
herself.
if I told you just sticking in the? You literally have.
Just sticking in? I'm
You're good at
aware
that
of
4
that part.
times. Yes, we have that. No, how about just folding it out and just folding out the pieces and sticking in and back? Bob, you
I
could
probably
do it.
could do it. Then.
Bob, you could do it. You could do it 5 minutes faster than I could. I promise.
Well,
you.
I don't know about that.
I promise you. You'd be able to handle that. It's always good stuff. The yard debris it's an absolute game changer.
Nice.
Just pile it in and have it picked up. It's easy. So how is Howie's roster building sitting with you right now? We always talk about the fact that you can't have a all-star team. Seems to be the biggest talking point. You can't have an all-star team at every position. And I completely understand that. But how are you feeling now about how this team was built when Bradbury's out, when Nakobe Dean's out, and what potentially could be an Achilles heel, and hope Aaron Rodgers has a full recovery, that the Achilles heel of this team may be the way the roster was constructed. It may be the fact that you went too thin in your secondary, which we talked about all summer long, and linebacker, where we not only thought they were thin, but we thought they were deficient. And now that could be what keeps you from reaching your goals.
Isn't it amazing that those 2 positions are the ones that got hit with injury?
Exactly.
First week of the season. I don't know. I don't know what they're going to do. Do you move Maddox outside? Do you move somebody inside? Do you just go with Job with the outside job? Now if Bradbury has to sit down, I don't know. It's the linebacking. Yeah, they signed another linebacker yesterday. Okay. Is that where you really are with a team that you have aspirations to win a Super Bowl?
By the way, a guy who Atlanta didn't want.
Yeah, I mean,
just like before you get excited, it's a guy that Atlanta didn't want.
Yeah, now Tony Romo liking Ellis the other day and going on about him, an educated football guy talking glowingly somewhat about Nakobe Dean's backup. Did it make me feel a little better? Yeah. I'm not going to sit here and say that I know everything about Ellis and how he calls plays and all that stuff. Romo kind of likes him. I guess that makes you feel a little bit better. I don't know. Did they build this roster correctly? We didn't question it all that much. We did say, look, there's some question marks at linebacker, at safety, all of that. So now here it is. Push comes to shove. Maybe this is where Howie does his really good work during this season.
Yeah, and that's right now, Pat, I don't think you evaluated it one game, but you absolutely can question. We talked about it. It's not 2020 hindsight. These are the two top talking points of the offseason, I think.
100%.
And the new coordinators.
They couldn't afford to lose players at those positions, I would say. And it happened. It's not great. So you got to kind of...
You're being very calm today. Yesterday morning, you were not nearly as calm.
I was pissed off yesterday.
Okay.
I'm still not great, but I'm willing to let it play out and see how it goes on Thursday. I'm trying to kind of convince myself that maybe it won't be as bad as I think. I mean, we know how good Justin Jefferson is. There are other options. I don't know. I mean, I like KJ Osborne a lot, but I mean, maybe Josh Jobe can show you something. Maybe Christian Ellis can show you something. So, but it does suck that I think out of all the positions on the field, you looked at two areas that you really couldn't afford. Well, the three I looked at before the season were linebacker, offensive line, and secondary, and you lost two of the three. Not great, Bob.
No, it's not great.
No,
not ideal, as you'd put it, right?
Yeah, no, not ideal even a little bit. No,
it really isn't.
No,
and that's part of the problem right now. Is you're trying to figure out how this all goes, how this all comes together. And last year, the defense had issues at times, but not a problem like this.
So as much as we're going to look at, okay, who's going to step in for Bradbury? What are you going to do about the middle linebackers and all? Not only do you have to look there, you have to look elsewhere also. And that goes to the defensive line to me. Guys, you got to get more pressure on the quarterback. And we can talk about pressure and all that. They didn't get to the quarterback all that often.
Enough, yes.
They didn't. No, and we need to see that a little bit more. Whether it's going to a five-man front that they did a couple of times and it worked, and Brandon Graham in particular had a free shot the one time that they went to a five-man front. Whether it means looking to stunt a little bit more in order to try to free up Hassan Reddick to get to the outside, or Josh Sweat. You have to do something. That makes your linebacking core, your depleted safety core or cornerback core, that makes them that much better. I'm a firm believer in that. When you have the debate of, is it your secondary that makes your defensive line better or your defensive line that makes your secondary better? I go defensive line makes secondary better.
I think defensive line always makes secondary better.
You got to. And so, therefore, as much as you're looking to replace the guys that we're talking about, you have to pick up your game in the defensive front.
Well, I think it's every I got to find it. There's a number about every time that the half second that the quarterback can stay in the pocket, the completion percentage goes up.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So if you're giving them plenty of time to get comfortable, then that completion percentage is going up, and you're potentially getting picked apart.
Yeah.
And honestly, Mac Jones, as people were saying, like, Mac Jones picked them apart the other day. And I got somebody here on DM saying the same thing on Twitter. I said, I didn't watch that game and say he picked them apart. I think he delivered balls to wide open receivers.
Oh, especially.
And I think that's a bigger problem.
A lot of wide open guys.
And the drop balls, there were at least three. I was thinking of the old Penn State receiver that used to play during the Super Bowl.
Allen Robinson?
No, for the Patriots. During the Super Bowl, he played for the Patriots.
Oh, Chris Hogan.
Chris Hogan.
Yeah, that lacrosse player.
The one receiver the other day who dropped that wide open ball that would have, I think it would have changed everything.
Yeah, could have.
I mean, that was a catch. He would have been walking inside the 25-yard line and everything, and it was wide open. It was the critical play that they needed at that point. He had some young receivers betray him the other day. Not betray him. I mean, they still made some plays. He passed him.
Stabbed him in the back.
Well. But they didn't come through with their feet on the ground. Butte didn't get his feet on the ground.
Yeah,
was
rookie
booty.
thing.
He was booty.
Bad booty.
Yeah.
There's good booty and bad booty, Pat. That was bad booty.
Trust me, my
bad.
college days will tell you that.
It was bad. It wasn't good. It wasn't good. And I mean, there are so many ways. I sort of chuckle because Chuck's saying the same thing to me here. You really think they were outcoached on Sunday? They won the game. So you must be getting the same thing. I'm like, are you kidding me? They were absolutely outcoached. When Mac Jones is honestly almost like he's twice as good, or every analyst tells you he completely outplayed Jalen Hurts.
Look, I can take.
But he didn't play against Jalen Hurts, but the quarterback performances.
I could take 5 guys in basketball and go to a court and go against a team that is way more talented than me and maybe be a better coach, or vice versa. I could have really good players go against a guy that has lesser players, and he could outcoach me that day. I should beat him by 20, and we won by 5. You can get outcoached and still win a game. I'm not saying they got greatly outcoached or all that. I think Belichick and O'Brien had a better day than the Eagles coordinators. I just do.
I think, Pat, there are a lot of coaches, too, who are better coaches when the team is sort of not as talented. Or like they have a little bit of that chip on the shoulder. They're not totally deficient,
but they get the most out of their guys. Yeah, I think
Peterson did that.
I think Peterson to an extent did that. I mean, it's not the same sport, but I thought Gabe Kapler did that his first year. I thought he got a lot out of what he had. Yeah, I mean, it is different when you're expected to be really good.
Right, and also
the Eagles last year were not expected. They had expectations for themselves, of course, but we expected to make the playoffs. We didn't expect the run that we got. The Patriots weren't expected and aren't expected to be very good this season, and it seems like Belichick has shockingly coached them up pretty well.
Now Chuck responds with, "You said it was Super Bowl or bust in your mind. You've been talking about Vegas in February." He said, "So what's changed now?" It's one freaking game. The Chiefs are talking about the Super Bowl. They're 0-1. The Bengals are talking about the Super Bowl. They're 0-1. I don't get it where it's got to be all or nothing. I'm never going to evaluate coordinators or otherwise. And he's like, well, you talked about them being outcoached. I said, I think they were. I think they were outcoached. And I got to tell you, Brian Flores versus Brian Johnson on Thursday night is not a favorable matchup for you. Much more experienced guy versus an inexperienced guy. I don't think that's a great matchup for you. But Brian Johnson is coming to the table with all the toys. He's got all the toys. He can do whatever he wishes. Yeah. I think he's going to be able to feel. They're going to feel more comfortable in that building too, and I think the fans are going to help out too.
Yeah, I think the building. I think a game under your belt. I think going and gets probably the best defensive coordinator. That's what I'm going to call Belichick. Going against that your first time as an offensive coordinator, that probably helps you in ways that you don't even realize, that we don't realize. We'll see. We'll see what happens. You don't go into it. You go into a marathon saying, I'm going to win. I'm going to finish this marathon. I'm going to do it. After 1 mile, you don't evaluate and say, "Oh, how are the other 25 going to go? Am I too fast?" You just go. You got to go with it and see how it plays out.
Do you learn more from a success or a failure? And that's sort of where your mentality is. I think you learn more in something where you stub your toe and you fall short, or you don't play to your capabilities, or you don't coach to your capabilities, and someone sort of tweaks it, you get at it. I think you learn more from that.
So Jalen Hurts has a saying on that. He says, "You either win or you learn."
Right, and you learn.
And
that's a Sabanism.
I love that. Is it okay? I love that. I do like that. That's the way I was brought up. You learn more from stubbing your toe, from maybe even winning. But what did you not do up to your standards? You always have to go that way. I feel that. Like, if I'm coaching somebody or if I'm watching somebody and they do something absolutely perfectly all the time, well, why am I going to harp on that? I'm not. I'm going to look and say, yeah, but you didn't do this all that well. Let's get that up to the standard of your other things.
My mom's favorite thing from the time I was a little kid to the time I was an adult, if you were lamenting some situation you were in, my mom would always throw it in. I hated hearing it, but it's very valuable. Turn around, and she'd say, turn around. Look at the steps you took to get here. You'll figure out how this happened. Now fix it. Now go fix it. And that's the one thing, is that they'll figure out their mistakes from the other day. These are smart guys. I mean, Pete Carroll raves about Sean Desai. He thinks Sean Desai is a next-level thinker. Maybe Sean Desai the other day, first game, little jitters, going up against Bill O'Brien, who was a masterful play caller.
And still held him to 20 points.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, our first...
they won the game, and they won the game.
Our first introduction to Nick Sirianni wasn't great.
No, it was terrible.
Worked out.
It was actually terrible. Not good. But it all worked out, and he's made people believers. And so It's like, look, it's all over the place. I feel Friday morning. I really do believe when we come in Friday morning, people will have a totally different impression and be like, wow, now we got 10 days off. Rest up, get everybody ready for that Tampa game. Where you guys will have pregame coming your way Thursday. But what time is pregame and where is it at?
Oh, yeah,
so
live
people can come and see
casino.
you.
Live casino, thanks to FanDuel. We'll be down there, me, Pat, and Andrew. We start at 6 o'clock, so we'll go on air after the best show ever. But Philly Sports Trips has a tailgate down there, and that's where we're going to be broadcasting from. And I may, John, I just may have a pair of tickets to give away.
You do.
To that tailgate.
Which is absolutely awesome. You're going to have a pair of tickets to give away. Do you have a number for young Connor to be able to take?
Yeah, you know what? He can do it on the what do we call it? The
215-263-0975.
Yes, 215-263-0975. But if you want to try to get in to this unbelievable tailgate. Now, John, you know how Vince runs things, right?
They're the best.
Well, you can win a pair of tickets for the #1 rated Birds Home Tailgate this Thursday. They start at 4. Top shelf, all you can eat food and drink. E-Rock's going to be our DJ.
That'll be awesome.
Hollis Thomas is going to be there as our Birds ambassador. And Philly Sports Trips as your host. Go to Philly Sports Trips and grab your spot right now.
What's the number?
215-263-0975. You can win a pair of tickets to that tailgate.
What caller number?
I'll go caller number. I was number 10 in high school, so I'm going 10.
You're going 10.
Sorry,
You
Con.
and Dutch? You and
That's
Dutch.
right,
So
Dutch
10th
also.
caller. 10th caller, 215-263-0975. You'll end up with the tickets. Go to that great tailgate. By the way, it is under the cover. Pat, have you been to one of the ones at the casino?
I haven't. I'm excited for Thursday.
It's under the cover of the front, like the valet.
Yeah, I love that.
So it's right there. You got the people walking the streets and everything, which is great. And you're going to have the spectacular food. Cavs Catering is
all I heard
second to none.
Was Vince and tailgate, and I knew it was going to be top notch.
So get in 215-263-0975. You can win that 10th caller. We'll get those tickets. I wouldn't mind just going down and tailgating if I was somebody winning those tickets, even if you didn't have tickets to the game.
Oh, God, yeah.
You could have a great time. So.
You could tailgate, then do a radio show, and then, whatever. See what happens.
There are a lot of weird trends that people believe in. What are some weird trends you believe in? I'm going to quiz you on this. And a few people, Pat, want us to get into a little more of this superstar thing to try to define it. John Kincade Show on 97.5, The Fanatic. I love the BetPark Sportsbook app, and I've already been wagering, and I've been on a little bit of a run of improvement because I only made a couple bucks over the weekend. But you know what? I don't risk any more than I feel that I want to risk. And more importantly, there's so many different ways you can get involved in the BetParks Casino and Sportsbook app. It's not just for high rollers. You want to bet $2, $5, $10, you can do it. If you're a new customer, make a winning $10 wager, and you're going to get $125 in bonus sportsbook bets back. So here's what I'm suggesting to you. You see the schedule coming up for pro football this weekend. Take the biggest money line in your favor. Bet it for $10. Then you get the $125 in bonus sportsbook bets, and you can just go to town. It's the only sportsbook betting app that I recommend. The Birds 7-point favorites on Thursday night. So if you're waiting for the hook I predict the hook will come back, and it'll become 7.5. If you want to bet 7, where the tie doesn't kill you, I think you want to in now. You love to play, you love to win. Well, you're going to love the BetParks app. It's easy to use, it's smart, it's different. I think it's the easiest for same-game parlays and more. You got to be 21 in Pennsylvania, Jersey, Ohio, or Maryland. This thing's growing. If you have a gambling problem, please call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Join the Cuz and Chunas for a special broadcast at South Philly Racing Sportsbook Thursday from 10 to 2 to celebrate the Birds' first home game. Presented by the BetParks Sportsbook.
Every business deserves a great deal. That's why, for a limited time, we're launching the Mobile Made Free event. With Comcast Business Internet, new and existing customers can get 1 year of unlimited mobile for free. Yep, you heard that right. An entire year, free. It's our best internet, powered by the next generation 10G network and with 99.9% reliability. Plus 1 line of free mobile for a year. The Mobile Made Free event is happening now.
Get started with fast speeds and advanced security for $49 a month for 12 months with no annual contract. Plus, ask how to get up to a $600 prepaid card with a qualifying bundle. Call or go online to learn more. Offer ends 9/21/2023. Restrictions apply. Requires paperless billing and automatic payments. New 50 megabits per second internet and security edge customers only. Equipment, taxes, and other fees extra. After promo, regular rates apply. Mobile
John Kincade Show on 97.5 The Fanatic. Appreciate it. You being a part of the show every day. Tell your family, tell your friends. And you know that the CSB Media Arts Center in Cherry Hill is home to Connecticut School of Broadcasting's Broadcast Media Program. You can find out more at gocsb.com. Do you change the filter yourself, Bob?
In what?
On your HVAC unit.
Yeah.
Do you what do you do around the house as far as, are you the maintenance guy? Are you the maintain everything?
Yeah, try to be. I mean, I'm not great. I'm not the handiest of guys, but yeah, changing filters and, if there's like minor stuff that needs to be done around the house, yeah. I love to do the cooking. I do a lot of the cleaning. Like, yeah, there's just not much I wouldn't do.
You are like, Pat, you're the same way, right?
No, absolutely not. I am.
I thought so. A little bit different.
I'm the least likely guy to be a man's man.
Well, it's what I'm interested in, and I think it's a correlation, is I don't call it superstition, but there are things that we believe in. We talked about it a little bit earlier on in the show. The idea of, Bob and I both said, ooh, Vikings lost on Sunday. I would have preferred that they come in off a win. My brother uses this all the time. I wish they weren't coming off a loss when trying to handicap a game. There are things that there's no scientific basis to back us on that. It's just a gut instinct. And it's something that I guess over the years just develops inside you as far as how you view games and what you believe and how you think things are going to work out. What I would ask is, what are some other ones that you have? Because there's one that I always hear about, and I believe in, the sandwich game. Now, Pat, it's not about a sandwich at one of your favorite spots.
Yeah, that's something. What are we talking here?
No, it's a sandwich game where a team has two divisional opponent games, and then they play the out-of-conference game in the middle. Whereas, like, you've got a game, there's one. San Francisco has the Eagles here in December, and they play Seattle on both sides of that game. And Seattle may end up being one of their top contenders in the division. They play Seattle, then they travel to the Eagles, and then they play Seattle again. I think that's a sandwich game that sometimes I don't see San Francisco overlooking the Eagles, but I see that as a sandwich game, and it's something that I always believe in. Two divisional games with an out-of-conference game that there's or an out-of-divisional game that doesn't matter as much. That there's one. Are there any others that you think of when you look at how a team's breaking down, Bob? Or are you somebody who just looks at each week is its own individual week?
I think you do have to look at the travel a little bit. Like, where are you going? Where are you coming from? Are you going, West Coast, East Coast, West Coast, something like that? I do. And we've heard players talk about it, that takes a little bit of a toll on them. They don't love it. Chip Kelly came in here and did the whole thing where traveling on Saturday to go to the West Coast is better when you're playing on Sunday than going on Friday, which I never really understood, but they had some science behind it.
What do you? And
I do believe in trap games, like the sandwich games that you describe. I do believe in that. It's tough. It's like Brian Dawkins talked about it. I believe it was Brian. Like, you watch him go out onto a football field, and we see the person or the thing he becomes. Then how are you supposed to tune that down after, a couple hours after the game? How are you supposed to just turn that off and then build it back up to travel across country again? Like, at some point, human nature kicks in, and there's I'm exhausted. So I think there is some of that. But these guys are professional athletes, and their adrenaline rushes are way higher than ours probably have ever gotten for them to play 3 hours of football. So, I do believe in some of those things. Outside factors.
Yeah, I mean, it's like
but the great teams and great players don't allow it to affect them.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, because, like, if the Eagles are, Pat, a new version of potentially where we can be, the new normal can actually be realized, where year after year you can count on the Eagles to be, pencil them in for 11 or 12 wins and maybe hosting one playoff game, whatever. They get on a roll like that.
Yeah.
I think that the Patriots and other teams did it for years. and they didn't fall for these things. Do you have any that you look at that you believe in? Like little. I don't know if there's. I can't call them superstitions, but like things that you believe when you look at teams in the NFL or schedules or things like the sandwich game. Or
I never believed in trap games.
You never believed in that.
No, never. The idea, I've heard it all off season, and I heard it yesterday. Of we're getting every team's best.
And you don't believe that?
No. Like, this is the NFL. These guys are playing for paychecks and livelihoods. You're going to get their best no matter what. I don't get the sense of, overlooking opponents.
Yeah, I don't believe in overlooking opponents.
That gets brought up anytime an underdog seems to win. Oh, the opponent was overlooked. Well, maybe. Maybe they just had a bad game. I mean, the idea that, let's say the Eagles, right? The Eagles are going up against the Texans, who rebuilding, rookie quarterback. What, is Nick Sirianni giving everybody off till Thursday? No, they're in there. They're watching film. They want to win. They want to make a statement. And more importantly, and we saw it last season, they want to get out of the game as early as possible.
Yes.
You want Jalen Hurts sitting on the bench watching 9 minutes of Marcus Mariota. That's what they want. So I never buy into it. I've never bought into it. I'm sure it happens from time to time where players will overlook an opponent. But when the game starts, I don't think they're taking it easy. So I never bought into it.
It was weird because I wondered if you would be the one most likely to, and you end up being really the least likely to, of the three of us. You ended up being the one who discounts it probably the most.
No, once again, the schedule comes out. I'm sure players are sitting there going, okay, we have Houston this week and we have the Chiefs next week. All right, let's start looking ahead to the Chiefs. I'm sure that happens, but once again, when the game gets played. When the play's going on, the players are not thinking about next week's opponent.
No, you're right at that level, I think, Pat. The professional level, I think you're right, because they know they take time off. They're going to get their asses kicked. Whether you're playing a good team, a bad team, whatever, you're playing against a guy that is an NFL caliber athlete, that if you decide, I'm going to jog here instead of run, or I'm going to push instead of shove, yeah, you're going to get your ass kicked. So I do agree with you there. I do think there are times mentally that you can go into a game and be a little bit behind where you should be, and maybe it is because you're facing a 1-8 opponent or something like that. But you make a good point. You made me think of that once they get in there, though, it's
a game, right?
It's the Mike Tyson thing. Yeah, you can have all the thoughts you want, but until you get punched in the mouth.
I always thought this, it drives me nuts in baseball, especially. Football, I understand you're making business decisions at times, but baseball, when players shut down contract talks,
right?
I'm not doing contract talks in the season, as if a 96-mile-per-hour fastball is coming in, and you're thinking, am I going to get 9 years or 10?
Yeah.
In football, running backs, I get it because you do have to worry about injuries, but there's insurance policies you can take out. I never bought into it. I'm going to shut contract because I want to focus on the year. Yeah, okay, maybe when you're driving home, you're focused on your contract. I'm sure that happens. But in the game, no, come on.
I do think that Aaron Nola's been affected by the contract this year.
I think he's been affected by the pitch clock.
Oh, that's two. Oh, no. I'm not arguing that.
Speaking, he's an every other year guy. I brought that up at nauseum on the show. But yeah, every other year he's good or bad. But I think the pitch clock especially has messed him up. And he's dealt with runners anytime. God forbid we get a runner on scoring position.
Oh, my gosh.
It's you're fine, running on scoring position. Oh, my God, everybody hide.
Wet your pants. Hey, the New Jersey Transit Police Department reminds you that we all need to work together to keep our transit system safe. You can report suspicious activity to 888-TIPS-NJT or text your report to NJTPD. All right, Darren has a challenge for us, Pat. And he said, I heard you guys talk about Superstar, and I actually was agreeing with both of your points in some way. So please, both of you, do this for me. Just define what a superstar is.
Do you want me to go first? You
can go first. You can go first if you've got one, because I'm still formulating.
Yeah, I think a superstar in the league is you take a non-basketball fan and you ask them, do you know who this is? And they say yes. Because their draw has gone past just the sport. It's gone to the everyday person, not just the everyday fan. It's a little broad, but my mom probably doesn't know who Anthony Davis is. My mom knows who LeBron James is. My mom probably has not watched a basketball game in 40, 50 years. So that gives you kind of an idea. And there's only a handful of those guys And even some, I mean, you can go to the commercial angle, but there's plenty of basketball players on commercials where a non-basketball fan has no idea who they are. They know they play basketball, but they don't know, that's Dame Lillard. But if you want to argue he's a superstar, I'm not going to stand in your way.
I would say it this way. Here's my definition is I'm going to try to give Darren. By the way, Darren's an attorney. And he says, sometimes both of you put my brain in a pretzel. Kudos to Jamie on that.
How do you think I feel, Darren?
He goes, but I would say this, Darren. If you were placing the talent in sports and you had shelves, and the highest shelf was your greatest players, your second shelf was your next greatest players, third shelf down. If I stick LeBron James on the top shelf, every player that I stick up there has to be of his caliber, his prestige, his talent, his accomplishment. And I think we throw around superstar way too often.
So my definition, and this was, God, it was probably a couple years ago, John, maybe it was before you were even here. We used to have this argument. My definition of superstar is the Jordans, the LeBrons, the greatest of all time.
They're the superstars.
I mean, that's just my definition of it. Now, it could be that people say, no, the guys in the league, like Jamie used to say, well, no, superstars are also guys that have a brand, that have a huge brand. Okay, I see where his thinking is coming from, and, him being a little younger or whatever. Mine goes straight to just the basketball. I think there's many, many stars in the NBA right now. That elevation of superstar, to me, is greater than maybe what somebody else's is.
I don't believe that you could walk the streets. Another thing, Pat. I think I could walk the streets with a picture of LeBron James and a picture of Damian Lillard. And I bet you 3 times as many people could identify LeBron James that could identify Damian Lillard.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that.
So that plays to it is that I think we throw around the star thing too often.
Well, all right, so taking that, don't do LeBron, do Dame Lillard versus Tyrese Halliburton.
I don't think either one of them would get many people that would know what they were.
I think Dame would get a decent amount. Not to LeBron level, but I think he'd get a decent amount. Tyrese Halliburton, no. But
like if you put,
I think he's a star in the NBA. Like I think NBA fans know who he is and would love to have him on their team. That to me is a star. But I'll bring it up again. Like all-star, the second word of that is star.
Right.
If you're an all-star, but your brother who doesn't watch sports doesn't know who he is, doesn't mean he's not a star in the league. I mean, you could use that definition in every sport.
But superstar is what we're talking about.
Yeah, superstar is different. And there's a handful.
And if you put LeBron there, I'm going to tell you it might offend people. I can't put Joel Embiid on the same shelf as LeBron. I've never seen Joel Embiid play in truly critical, meaningful games. He's never even gotten to a conference final.
No, when you're talking championship, LeBron James is the all-time leading scorer in the NBA and is going to be top 3 in assists in the NBA.
That's wild.
And put on top of it 4 championships, like 10 championship appearances. That's otherworldly. That is, in my definition, just mine, that is superstar.
Yes.
No, nobody in the league is approaching that in my book. No.
Yeah, I mean, I just can't.
Now.
Yeah, I just can't. Like, if there's one shelf, if I'm putting. Now, I don't know. Is there anybody you would put on LeBron's shelf?
That is playing now?
In the NBA?
Yes, in the NBA.
No, not yet. No.
I wouldn't either. So that's why I can't
like
say.
Like LeBron's otherworldly.
Well, that's why I can't say superstar Joel Embiid. I can say star Joel Embiid. I can't say superstar.
Well, because your definition of superstar is Pat's definition of otherworldly. Let's put it that way. Okay? Like, Pat will put LeBron otherworldly, but nobody else in the league. Pat will put LeBron superstar, but also include Joel Embiid and others in the league as superstar. Like, because his definition is just different than ours.
Like Michael Jordan was otherworldly, but that didn't mean there weren't other superstars in the NBA.
They had a much better. I think he played in an era where there were more.
Maybe.
There were players of his superstar caliber at that time.
But, and I look at that era of like how many of those do I name right away? Like
Hakeem Olajuwon is on his shelf.
No, like Charles Barkley is a superstar, but is he a superstar because of his playing career or because of his TV career?
I put Charles Barkley one shelf below LeBron. One below. Oof. I put Shaq on his shelf.
I don't know if Barkley's on the same shelf. Same shelf as LeBron?
No.
Did you say a shelf below?
He's a shelf below. He's not but I put
How many
Shaq.
shelves are
But
there?
But I put
wonder-
Shaq on his shelf.
Yeah, I put Shaq was a superstar. Absolutely, Kobe's a superstar. LeBron,
Right.
MJ, like there's plenty of them.
It's really interesting. It's an interesting conversation. Tasty Cake Dom wants to check in. Dom, how are you, brother?
Hey, John, no more tasty cake.
Did I
I'm
hear
done.
you? Did I hear you retired?
Yeah, Friday was my last day.
Congratulations,
Dom.
Congratulations, Dom. Some time
Hell of a
for
run,
you.
Dom.
Good job,
Well,
buddy.
I have to have surgery October 18th, so I have to get ready for that.
I think you'll be ready. I think you're ready.
I'll
I
be
think you
ready.
got the right mindset.
I'll be ready. I had a call because Bob just mentioned that he had that conversation years ago, John, and of the memories of listening to the show on my route, Bob, I wanted to call you and ask you again because you said Magic Johnson wasn't a superstar, right?
No, I never said that.
No. Bob?
Boy,
Bob loves
I
Magic.
I thought I heard that because I think I called you that morning when you said that.
No, I put my superstars probably at like the top 12, 15 players of all time, Dom, in my head, and Magic is definitely one of those.
Oh,
so
yeah.
if I don't believe I would have said it, no.
But Pat's definition, real quick, John, is interesting because he uses recognizability, right? Is that what he said?
Yeah, him and Jamie both back in the day when we've had this discussion. Pat, you put that brand awareness, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Which is something
So
that
Pat-
Bob and I maybe value a little less.
There should be more brand awareness in today's day and age with the
Correct.
social media than there was in the past. And
So,
to your
John-
point, there might not be as many quote superstars.
So, John, Pat thinks Dennis Rodman is a superstar because he's more
Yeah.
recognizable than almost anybody.
See,
Yeah,
I consider him a star.
He's a Hall of Famer.
Yeah, I don't put him in my superstar category. Like I said, my superstars, Don, are probably, and yours in my list, I bet you're very similar, are like the top 10, 15 players of all time. Maybe.
Yes, yeah, my
Something like that.
superstar shelf is very small compared to others. I think the term gets thrown around too much, Don.
Yeah, I agree with you guys.
All right,
Great
buddy.
show
Take
today.
care of
It was a
yourself.
great show. All right.
Thank you, man. I think Pat, though,
Good luck, Dom.
this does show. Yeah, good luck on that surgery. He's got a month to get ready for that surgery. He's got it. Pat, I think part of it, though, is it is generational. It is generational. Is that because the way you've consumed the NBA and the way you consume sports is absolutely different over the course of your life than Bob and I have.
I don't think necessarily it's so different. Like Connor, I would say it's different.
Okay.
Connor's grown up primarily in the day and age of social media. I grew up with a mix. I grew up with a mix of, Ahmad Rashad and inside the NBA and newspapers and daily newses. And then it transitioned in my college years to social media, where you started to hear about Zion Williamson in high school. You wouldn't have heard that when I was in 8th grade.
Yeah.
The first time I heard Kwame Brown was like a week before the NBA draft, and he was drafted right out of high school. Today, we would have heard about Kwame Brown when he was
We
a
would have seen him,
sophomore,
and we would have
a
maybe
freshman.
seen him play on ESPN.
Yeah,
which is very different. This is a really interesting conversation.
So I feel like I'm in the middle there on both, but it is amazing because the amount of superstars in the 90s to now, even though there's probably a bigger area of growth for your self brand, you could argue there's more superstars back then than now.
Like there is a difference. Ryan says on Twitter, by your definition, then to me there aren't many superstars ever. Yes. That, Ryan, you got me exactly right. If you have to be on the shelf with LeBron, the second player of all time, would no be top 5. No, there are players who can be. Michael Jordan can absolutely be on the shelf with LeBron. Shaquille O'Neal can absolutely be on the shelf with LeBron. But, I mean, it's understandable as far as it is interesting to how each person hears a word and they view it differently.
Yeah. I just my era, I go like LeBron and Jordan and Kobe and
Hakeem.
Shaq and Bird and Hakeem and you could obviously Kareem. There's that argument, Oscar Robertson. You could there's that argument of 15 top players, whatever. Those guys are my Mount Rushmore's only 4, but those are my superstars. And I'm not saying all right. That's just the way I identify it. That's all.
Hey, Malcolm in Philadelphia joins us. Malcolm, good morning. You're on the Fanatic. How are you?
Good morning, fellas. How y'all doing?
Good
Hey,
to hear
Malcolm.
from you, man.
Yeah, so I wanted to add from the current player, Steph Curry. I feel like he's a superstar.
Malcolm. That's a great point. And somebody texted me, Steph also. That's a great one. It's hard to elevate while you're watching, and I think you know what I mean, Malcolm. But he's there. You're right. I totally agree with you.
And he's a unicorn. I mean, he's absolutely
changed. Malcolm probably changed the game in some ways, right?
Definitely. Shooting is phenomenal. He's changed the three-point line into a lethal weapon.
Malcolm, do you believe he would have been lethal in the days of Jordan?
It would have been tough for him. The physicality would have been a lot of work for him. But his shooting is still his shooting.
His shooting's amazing. Absolutely amazing. Thanks, Malcolm. Appreciate you, buddy. It is just a really interesting conversation. And it was fun to sort of jump off on that one. I like it.
Yeah.
Bob thinks that there's something that may be able to beat the Eagles. And I'm wondering if, Bob, you're talking about we got players on the shelf.
Now, let's see what's in Cooney's corner.
Yeah, we talked last year how when the Eagles were going really well, 8 in a row, 14-3 altogether, that we thought the only thing, and probably correctly so back then, that could beat them was them themselves.
Right.
And it kind of showed itself. You even went to the Super Bowl. You can make the argument that the Eagles beat themselves with that fumble, with the bad punt, with, whatever. Now, Kansas City had a lot to do with it. But, so you go into this season, and we know about what you do, what Nick Sirianni does without playing the starters, without, giving much work to everybody in training camp. So you go into this season with a great roster, and you say, well, there's two things. One is injury, and two is, can they hurt themselves? Will they beat themselves? Still don't know about the second one, if they're going to beat themselves. But the first one's starting to rear its ugly head a little bit. And you're going to probably have Bradbury out on Thursday. And you're probably, you're going to have Nakobe Dean out.
He's out.
And that's, I think that's bigger than anybody thinks. Now, you can shrink it down and say, well, he didn't really play all that well, and you didn't see him on the field all that much. He only had 4 or 5 tackles, so where was he and all that? But it's a position that you concentrated on all off season to say, you're the guy, here it is. I imagine most of their concentration at that position went to Nakobe Dean.
I would think so.
Because second-year player, you didn't play much last year.
Counted on the quarterback, the defense?
Yeah, and now, boom, it's away. So I think that's going to be a little hard to overcome. Forget talent, whatever. You put a lot of your juice, I'm assuming, into him running your defense, and now he's gone for a month or so. So it's something to watch. It's something that you couldn't afford on the defensive side of the ball, especially not at these two positions.
And it looks like, by the way, if you go back and watch that, he may have been stepped on. Like, it may be one of those things where it sort of got stepped on and turned.
Oh, is that right? I didn't see the play where it happened. I still haven't.
It's hard to tell, and that's just speculation, complete speculation on my part. But, like, where your foot gets turned, where it's not flat, and then someone steps on it?
Yeah.
It might be that. That scares me, though, an arch injury or anything like that. But they're saying numerous weeks, not numerous months, numerous weeks.
Yeah, anytime I hear an injury and I hear the time frame of it, this is just me. I always add a couple weeks. Always. And maybe and Pat, you'll know this better than anybody. You were here. Maybe it's my time covering the Sixers when an injury was,
Oh, we'll reevaluate 2 to 3 weeks.
Yeah, 2 to 3 weeks. And then that meant in January, we'll see him.
And
we'll
3
see
weeks
him
later,
next season.
3 weeks later, we'll reevaluate in 2 to 3 weeks.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
so saw the doctor, no update.
Yeah, well, that's not good.
And that's okay. You want him back 100%. It's going to take a while. We know how ankles, feet, all that stuff goes. Great. He could feel 100% in a few weeks that Nick Sirianni pointed out. But then it's conditioning. It's getting back. It's also relearning, readjusting to a guy that was starting in his first game.
And if I'm the coach, it's also based on, did I win the Viking game? And then I won the Tampa game and I won the Commanders game. If I won an extra,
why rush him back?
If they're 4-0, I'm more likely to go, okay, give them an extra week. Like if they're 2-2, I'm probably and it's probably a mistake on my part.
Well,
I say, come on, get back.
If he was an established middle linebacker, I would more agree with you now.
Right.
But he's not. He's totally unknown. So if I throw somebody in there and as a team, and the team goes 4-0, 5-0, and playing well, Am I rushing them back?
Yeah.
I don't know. We're doing okay with that. Nakobe, you take your time.
I'm not good with the film study as some of the people like our own Zach Berman and everything that will jump in with it. But I got to tell you, watching it again, they weren't. It didn't look like they were exploiting Nakobe Dean in the passing game. It looked like they were exploiting Cunningham a bit. But Cunningham,
I don't think they cared which linebacker was there. I think they were going after
that they were
any
just
and
going
all.
to go. And they
Yeah, I really do. Yeah.
That is a area of town, so it's good. We've got that going for you. All right, Pat. I cannot have the Phillies lose 2 games. I cannot see the Braves win on our field.
I don't care about that.
I know you don't. The players do.
They're gonna clinch anyway.
I don't want them to do it here.
Yeah, whatever. Best case, all right, then it'll piss off the players. They can sit there and watch it and get angry and seethe. I don't think that they do end up getting swept, but man, this team's so damn good. Not swept, but they'll lose the last 2 games.
Right.
But this team is so good that you cannot ever count them out.
I was amazed yesterday as I'm sitting there watching these players come up over and over and over again for the Braves, and you look up at the scoreboard, and you can't see batting average because it's not on the big screen. But you look up and you see all the home runs, the RBIs, the stolen bases, the batting average, and it just never, ever, ever stops.
No, you see a confidence with that team.
Oh, it was palpable yesterday,
where
Pat.
it's just like even when they lose, they still have the confidence that they were going to come back, and you see why. Like yesterday's a prime example of that. None of us felt comfortable. You're up by 2 runs. Thank God, they got the final out because it's, Acuna comes up and it's like this is the one guy you don't want to be facing, him or Olsen probably.
Right.
But there's a confidence with that team, and you see why, and you understand why they've won so many damn games. It's like, oh yeah, we're down 4, we're down 5, we're down. We'll get it back. And that's a scary team to face.
If you weren't a baseball fan or anything like that, or you didn't know the records of the team yesterday when I was there, and you just literally watched both teams, and I'm talking about warm-ups, I'm talking about plays in the field, all of that stuff, there's no question in my mind, if you know sports a little bit, you'd be like, oh, they are the better team.
You can tell you.
I'm telling you, there's just a feeling of, yeah, they know it. They know how good they are.
I'm not going to be confident if they end up playing them in the playoffs. I think that a lot of fans...
you can't be confident.
I think a lot of fans will be, though, because of what happened last year. Oh, we rattled them and all that. To me, all that did was give this current Braves team a reality check of what to expect. They didn't expect that last year. They know what to expect now. And this Brave team is way different. Ronald Acuna this year is, night and day from Ronald Acuna last year. Like, this team is deep and
remember,
good.
he was hurt last year, too.
That's my thing. Yeah, it's night and day. It's like you got the MVP this year. You didn't have that last year.
I think it's an organizational thing, too. I think from the time they're in the minor leagues, everything is just drilled into them. They're like robots.
And then I was going over the contracts with my friends yesterday because they don't know the contracts of the players. I said, look, this is what the Braves' MO is. And I read them out, and they're like, oh, my God.
Alex Anthopoulos is a wizard.
It's incredible, yes.
Hey, we look forward to seeing a Phils win tonight. We get you closer and closer to Thursday's kickoff. It'll be a lot of fun. We have a lot of fun tomorrow, too, on the show, including our own Zach Berman. Adam Schefter will join us tomorrow. It's a Wednesday, so Adam Schefter will join us. Support life-saving cancer research. Join us in our generous partner, David Auto Group. David Kelleher, thanks for your participation, and make a donation to the American Association for Cancer Research. Do it today. Every donation is doubled through New Year's Eve. Every donation's doubled, so every dollar counts. 975thefanatic.com/AACR. If you're a new donator and you've never donated before, do it. It's going to be doubled through New Year's Eve. Cancer research, hopefully.